Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the now I think the fifth day, I think of League of Legends here for the VCS, which is, I mean, we're zooming through already. Plenty of games having already happened. My name is 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀. Alongside me, I don't even know how to pronounce the one name because I simply don't know exactly what it is. 𝘀𝗀cie, why don't you tell us a bit about how you're doing this morning first?
I'm doing fine. I mean, had some trouble getting up to the task because it's also really early in the morning for me. But yeah, I like the VCS game so far, and I hope to see many more today.
All right, Professor Oriology, whatever your name is exactly. Tell us, you're looking pretty spiffy today. What are you dressed up for?
First up, the surname is Professor Orologio, and welcome to the class. Can you hear me, students?
I'm not
Yes,
responding to that. That sounds like something I shouldn't respond to.
yes, I can hear, but I
Okay,
cannot repeat your name, so take care of that.
okay, very well. I feel like this first week of VCS has been very impactful and very, let's say, intricate, and I'm here to piece up the things after these first 4 days of play.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and do that for us?
Okay, I think the first adjective that comes to mind is unexpected. Unexpected since we have had quite many shakeups. Especially, we have been seeing that GAM is not really comfortable with their level of play yet. They are sitting at the bottom of the standings with two defeats, and we have 𝘀𝘀cie instead at the top of the standings together with Buffalo and Cerberus and quite a few middling teams that we are still trying to get our grasp on. And today it should be a pretty useful day to picture their actual skill level.
I think that's a pretty important pot of discussion here that you got for us, Mister Professor Orologio, whatever it is that you. 𝘀𝗀cie, how have you actually taken to some of the games that have come about?
I mean, the team's history so far is speaking a pretty clear language, I would say. I mean, Cerberus, they struggled with 𝘀𝗀cie, who had a substitute mid laner, and they bet 𝘀𝗀, but that's the positive thing. We would say the first thing, but they bet 𝘀𝗀, and 𝘀𝗀 didn't really look too good. And both series were a 2-1 win, which
Mhm.
would not seem that convincing after all for Cerberus. But on the other hand, you have Team Secret, who managed to look even less convincingly when they were beating Team Flash, who are on paper the worst team in the league right now.
I suppose that is true nowadays. Speaking of Team Secret, before we get into today's games, I do believe that one of our desk members, I couldn't possibly imagine who it might be, actually has a little bit about Team Secret to tell us. So, Professor?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Rebel. And to honor the tradition of Teacher's Day, which is celebrated today in Vietnam, we begin our lecture with a review of one of the most famous teams in the VCS, Team Secret. Their story starts with a heartwarming name, Friends Forever, a roster that entered the league in 2017 on the back of the bottling of Celebrity and 𝘀𝗀. Their rookie summer split is a promising success. They placed third, one step away from GPL and Worlds. 2018 welcomes a fiery rookie jungler. You might have heard of DNK, but alas, success is not repeated in spring, and it is only with the arrival of Venus and Artifact that completes the roster and clinches another third position, just short of the finals. 2019 brings winds of change from the West when 𝘀𝗀cie acquires the roster in summer. It is under their logo, and our Lord Honey's blessings that the crew breaks the curse and lands onto the world stage, even taking a game off of Damwon. This historical performance catches the eye of Team Secret, long-time Dota legends, who seek to repeat the feat in 2020. The addition of Coated is not enough to patch up their inconsistencies, and their year ends on a back-to-back fourth place. Thirsty of international competitions, Secret lunges to break the chains of mediocrity with the addition of Slater, Nagia, and CBL. Surely a winning recipe, but the stampede of Buffalo tramples them, forcing them out of the finals with an uphill match against the eventual champions, GAM. Now, months apart, we reopen that dusty book to remember a miracle that is no more. The friends forever have parted, leaving the page empty again. With a stroke of fresh ink in the three rookies, in the expert hand of the now veteran 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. Team Secret seeks to write a new page in their story.
Oh,
Students,
clap, everybody.
Well,
that.
Good job, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was very insightful on one of our two teams that we're going to be kicking off today with, I suppose, as we're going to be starting today with a phenomenal little matchup between the sides of Team Secret, who we just learned the history of. Thank you for the celebration of all teachers everywhere, and of course 𝘀𝘀, who was one of our top two teams on the day. Gentlemen, it has been a solid start to the split here for 𝘀𝘀, beating not only SBTC, one of our other kind of top middling teams somewhere in that area, but also defeating 𝘀𝗀𝗋 in a very close series in their opener. Talk to me about these two teams. I guess we'll start with 𝘀𝗀𝗋 since we have a little bit of bias on our desk towards Team Secret. Talk to me about 𝘀𝘀 and what this team has been up to.
I mean, 𝘀𝘀 has been having a start they are probably okay with, I would say, at least. I mean, they won both their series. I mean, it was, as I mentioned earlier, against 𝘀𝗀𝗋, who maybe is not like in the best shape because 𝘀𝗀𝗋 literally has been ill, has been having less practice, and we saw how Levi played and we saw how 𝘁𝗄𝗋 played it, and the synergy kind of wasn't really back for them, I would say. So there were like some struggles in this regard, and I see my camera has been frozen, which is really unfortunate. But anyway, I can keep talking about it a little bit more. 𝘀𝘀, on the other hand, struggled a little bit against SBTC, who had their substitute mid laner, who is actually their other top laner playing. And but I mean, gotta give him credit because he managed to play pretty well for his standard, and 𝘀𝘀 also won that series 2-1. So they are only down on game score to the top seed, who is taken by 𝘀𝘀 so far. And yeah, their players are playing well. I mean, Artemis has always been on hyper carry so far. 1OP has had great support performances, and 𝘀𝗀𝗋, I mean, we know 𝘀𝗀𝗋, arguably the best jungler of the league right now, has also been outperforming both Levi and the other jungler.
Thoughts on 𝘀𝘀, Mr. Clockwork Professor?
Absolutely. I am super hyped to see 𝘀𝗀𝗋 course again. I think this 𝘀𝗀𝗋 performance what was we were all expecting when he joined 𝘀𝘀 in the spring split, but it didn't happen, and it's happening now. So 𝘀𝗀𝗋 been playing a lot of playmaking champions such as the Nidalee, for example. Very impressive performance, and yeah, it's the 𝘀𝗀𝗋 show on Team 𝘀𝘀, and I want to see more of it.
And now I guess Team Secret walks in with a little bit of a different start to the split, as they had they walked into their first set of games, lost 2-0 to the super big time chickens, and then they were able to play against Team 𝘀𝗋, who is, I think, across the board in our analyst desk and a lot of people's opinions, Team 𝘀𝗋, who is the worst team in the league, taking them to a full set of 3 games. So, Professor, I guess talk to me about the performance the Team Secret has been having this split. What is it that I guess, do you see them as the 7th best team after that kind of a very strange performance up against the likes of Team 𝘀𝗋?
So, in my opinion, Team Secret is not still definitely the 7th place team. I think they are starting to understand a bit better how they want to play. The early game is not bad at all. I think 𝘀𝗀𝗋's experience brings some idea of how they want to play in the first minutes of the game, but it's still the solo laners. Well, not the solo laners, actually, the rookies in the mid lane and the bot lane are still not up to the competition. So it will be up to them to see if they can improve to match the highest echelons. So far, I'm still withholding judgment. Yes, our expectations are quite low, but they're still in the middle of the pack.
𝘀𝗀𝗋, would you like to burst his bubble and admit that Team Secret is, in fact, the 2nd worst team in the league?
Yes, they are the 2nd worst team in the league. I'm sorry, Clockwork, but you are totally on 𝘀𝗀𝗋 and both on 𝘀𝗀𝗋 and on 𝘀𝗀𝗋 right there, because, I mean, Team Secret, they had the chance against Team 𝘀𝗋 to look convincingly, but they just didn't. They dropped the game there. They had doubts on which mid laner to play because 𝘁𝗋𝗋 looked awful on the first game day, and 𝘀𝗀𝗋 what's a bot laner, he was doing fine on MF, but the 𝘀𝗀𝗋, he only could play 𝘁𝗀𝗋 so far, and we've seen in VCS countless times how these 𝘁𝗀𝗋 solo magic damage threat comps just do not work out anymore, especially if the game goes a little bit later, which happens frequently because the VCS likes to throw their leads a lot.
I lost quite a bit of faith in 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, and as did the remainder of the team. And then obviously with Jerry coming in, you have to think that this might be a feast for 𝘀𝗀, which takes us into the main point today, which is where are we looking on the map for both of these teams, right? You're going to have quite a bit of contestant across the board as we're jumping into what is the pick and bans. And as we get through the first phase of bans and into the first picks, what are you expecting from both of these teams in terms of play style, and how do you think this draft will supplement that? One just open-ended question as we kick off draft here.
Okay, I'm seeing a pause on the screen. Is it real?
No, that can't be. That's got to be a pun. It's just misspelled pun. There's no way. That's got to be a spelling mistake. Yeah, I won't believe it until I actually see pause on stage. So I'm not buying that one for even a minute. I can't believe that this is the game out of absolutely nowhere where we finally get to introduce the first ever actual substitute, the first ever import to the VCS, as 𝘀𝗀 is stepping finally into the top lane for Pun, which is a mild amount shocking after Pun's performances. He had some good performances. Guys, what do you make of 𝘀𝗀 stepping in here against the side of Team Secret?
I mean, to me, it just tells me that they're really confident in 𝘀𝗀, because as you just mentioned, Pun played more than fine. He was actually pretty good, and now with 𝘀𝗀, maybe earlier it was just maybe some official issue that they had like no chance to play him, but they wanted to actually play him, and now they are picking him up. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, there's still a small chance that it's just an overlay mistake, and it's both two very short names. They both start with a P. You can confuse them here and there, but yeah, let's be real. It will be 𝘀𝗀 now. It will be his debut in the VCS, and I'm all up for it.
Yeah, it's an exciting time because now all of a sudden we get our first import, we get our first Korean here to step in, and we've been expecting this for like basically the whole year, even into the spring split. We were expecting this to come out. So how does this change things, Clockwork? I mean, you're the big Team Secret, supporter here. Are you in support of 𝘀𝗀 being in this game? Do you think that improves your chances, or is this not a good thing for you? Do you think this is going to ruin things?
So for what I'm seeing so far, Secret has banned Camille, and Cerberus has picked Renekton, so this is not a proof that this is not Pun. It could still be Pun, right? That's the Renekton, which is comfort pick. Also, Secret snatched the Lucian, which has been banned a lot, so VCS teams have a high opinion on Lucian, and this is one of the few times that he's been picked. And of course, Cerberus answered by denying the Nami. So yeah, I want to see what jungler, of course, Cerberus get to choose, because that might indicate how much focus they want to put in the top lane.
We're in a position now where, I mean, you're seeing as the draft is continuing, you saw, the Lucian Nami gets denied after the Lucian V1 coming out. We still don't really know if 𝘀𝗀𝗀 is going to be rocking the Graves before we continue to get top laners attempting to test this out, and Nagia actually is the one to have that one into the Renekton instead. And now also we're seeing kind of this rounded out with the 𝘂𝗀 pick coming in at the very tail end of this one. So talk to me about how these compositions have begun and what we're looking at. I guess Cerberus first, because we've got this 𝘂𝗀 and Nami combination, this kind of poke, airy, lethality style 𝘂𝗀 that's popped up alongside this like ability enhancing Nami to be able to go aggressive in the laning phase against what might just be the Lucian. What do you make of this, Prince?
I mean, it's kind of a bandit fixed solution, I would say. I mean, they just likely picked the Nami away just to deny a potential Lucian Nami bot lane, which would be enough to 𝘂𝗀𝗀 to give over, especially on the red side, where you could potentially pick them both, assuming the enemy team does not pick Lucian on blue B1. But yeah, 𝘂𝗀 is one of the champions that works well with the Nami, as you just mentioned, because you can, with the 𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀 build, you have an insane spike in the mid game, but with the crit build, it could work as well. So there's also the option that they go towards that, and they just really like Renekton, I guess that's why they pick it so early. So they have 𝘀𝗀 in this first game on a comp for champion that basically auto-wins the first 3 levels, assuming he plays into a melee. And I also like Team Secret's answer to it, as the Graves will likely go into the top lane, I would say, because Graves into Renekton is absolutely fine. You can like abuse the range advantage there really much, and just do not lose the first 3 levels, and then just scale better than the Renekton and just deny him in the team fights very well. But I also like the Leona on the side of Secret. They could have maybe liked it more if they went for the Yuumi, because Yuumi is absolutely overpowered at the moment, and it would be doing very well with the Lucian. But Lucian Leona is a fine bot lane, and there's also a slight chance that the Lucian might go mid lane, but I mean, let's wait and see. Maybe they like to play Lucian Leona in the bot lane, because that is also a very bursty killing bot lane. That might be trouble for 𝘂𝗀 and Nami before level 6 especially, because then 𝘂𝗀 doesn't have a Feather Storm and is very vulnerable to 2v2s or 3v2s, assuming 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 plays a visit up bot lane.
And 𝘀_cie_�𝗋𝗆, I mean, you're seeing the Team Secret composition kind of unfold in front of you. Where is your expectation for leaning in terms of where resources on the map are going to go? I mean, it seems like you've got a powerful setup, especially if 𝘀eBlanc gets locked in here, to be able to take, I mean, Lucian and 𝘂𝗀a into the bottom lane. You got maybe Graves into the top, 𝘀eBlanc in mid. Where are you expecting them to attack on the map?
So, from what I'm seeing so far, it seems that they are trying to focus on the bot lane, where, well, if LeBlanc manages to get Prio into Syndra, which is not that easy, maybe they can stack up a dive. Also, maybe the Gnar that would put Graves in the jungle, which is not the best champion to dive. Ooh, that's an Ornn. So yeah, that's surely not indicating a focus on the top lane. I'm also looking at Cerberus. I'm really liking the Syndra here. It's not a pick that many mid laners in the VCS have been playing, but it's really easy to play for the lane and then roam and move and help your jungler getting roams and invades. And this counter pick that they are leaving for Ego means that, yeah, want to put Ego on a carry, and the Xin Zhao is exactly a champion that can do it. So I'm pretty keen on this Cerberus draft.
Okay, both sides have, I guess, strengths to play around. You are very lucky that it is, National Teacher Appreciation Day and that you're a professor, because saying Syndra is a good pick on my desk, that just bodes disappointment most of the time. You're lucky you get one strike today for free. However, walking into this game, seems like both teams prepared to play around bottom lane. You've got the aggressive jungler for Ego to be able to make things happen. On the other side, of course, you've got this farming Graves, maybe looking to play out the bottom lane on its own a little bit more. Gentlemen, we're about to kick off into game number 1 between these two and start of our 5th day. I need your predictions. Who's going to win this series?
I think Cerberus is going to take it. They has a really clear identity towards the mid game where they really explode with all their picks. I mean, they have the Xayah Nami lane, which they might need to carry through for the first 3 levels, but otherwise than that, they have Syndra, Xin Zhao, mid jungle duo. They have a Renekton that will beat up the Ornn in the top side as well. They could have went for the Trundle. I would have also liked that, but the Xin Zhao is even better to have a clear identity with the draft. And I don't think Team Secret is up to the task to get past this mid game and scale better into the late game. They do scale better, but I don't think they will get the late game this time.
𝘀_cie_�𝗋𝗆, who wins?
I'm also in Cerberus. Cerberus so far has won through Ego and Yado cooperation in the mid jungle, and now they have all the tools to make it happen, and Cerberus is going to take it.
Gotcha. Well, with that, our analyst desk is going to take a step back as our casters and some of our OG members here inside of VCS are going to be casting for the first time this bit. 𝘀𝗋𝗆, take it away from us.
The OGest of the OG, you might be able to say. The VCS English Classic. It is myself and my good friend 𝘀𝗋. I've missed you so much this week as we've been waiting to get back into it. We are heading very, very quickly onto the Rift for what should be a bloodbath of a game, as they all are here in Vietnam. And 𝘀𝗋, you were saying to me, just before we went live, 𝘀𝗀 can only play engage support, but he's on a Nami.
Yeah, that is, as Spoots would put it, very sus. Because I've not seen 𝘀𝗀 on an Enchanter in ages. I don't even remember a single game. Maybe he played one in 2019 or something. Maybe even one in 2020. But he is the quintessential engage support player. His best champs are Alistar, Thresh, and Leona. By a long shot, maybe you can put Nautilus up there as well. But the Nami? It makes sense to put the Nami away from the Lucian, and we have the Lucian-Nami face-off on different sides. They are a better couple now than Lucian-Senna, unfortunately. But in this game, they fight against each other, and I'm very intrigued to see what Cerberus' bot lane can do. Because Artemis Xayah, we've already seen her, and he was very scary in the laning phase. Xayah, in my opinion, is unplayable right now. Not in terms of, like... She's not too weak to be played. She's unplayable as the opponent in the laning phase. That was what I wanted to say. So every time I have to face off against the Xayah in lane, I just scream at my screen because it's so impossible to trade. It's so hard. And Nami makes it even worse. So this bot lane is going to be a point of power for Cerberus, for sure.
For sure, and I want to stay with Cerberus just for a little bit longer because this Nami pick does mean that Cerberus are showing a little bit of a different face, I think, and of course they've brought 𝘺 in. It's finally happened. We have an import in the VCS. 4 announcements is apparently all it took. this means that 𝘀𝗀𝗶𝗹𝗀 isn't the go button. It's ego and it's 𝘀esse to follow it up. What do you think about this change overall from Cerberus?
Yeah, it's risky. I need to see them win on this, because I am really suspicious, because 𝘀𝗀𝗶𝗹𝗀 is the main engaged player of this team most of the time, and we know Ego can play engaged, but he's still very new in this team. And how good 𝘀𝗀𝗏 is going to look in this game, that's another big test here. I was excited to see 𝘁𝗏𝗏 again, because 𝘁𝗏𝗏 is one of his OG champions, one of the champs he made his name for. He's on Jhin instead, so a little bit more standard, you could say, even though 𝘁𝗏𝗏 has come back into the meta. But yeah, it's a different look. I think this might be a little bit more lane-focused for Cerberus, which is not usually what we associate with this team. Usually we think, okay, Cerberus is much more of a team-fighting team, but they have had very strong early games, especially against, for example, 𝘀𝗀𝗏, who are supposed to be the best early game team. So I think this team is trying to maybe adapt a little bit more to the Vietnamese style, especially the two best teams from last split were the two best early game teams. So now we have Renekton, Syndra, and Nami, Xayah. You can barely draft better lanes. So I think this is all about win lane, win game, try to snowball early on. If you're even at 20 minutes, you should probably be scared for your chances to win this game.
And so far the win lane part is going pretty well, as they have a CS lead in mid lane. 𝘀𝗏 forced 𝘁𝗏 back early. He had to TP while losing minions. 𝘀𝗏 can keep his teleport, have that advantage. Up in the top lane, Nagia on the Ornn. Of course, he's going to lose out to that Renekton. So things are going well. But let's have a look at Team Secret. Let's have a think about them. They did look pretty terrible in their first game. Let's be blunt. 𝘀𝗀𝗏 was very blunt, and I do agree with him that this team is probably the 7th best team. And hey, Flash, you've got someone to compete with down at the bottom of the barrel. But this is a completely different comp. 5 new champions.
Exactly. Very intriguing as well for Team Secret. I have to caveat the judgment of them. We're still in assessment week. We've only seen them win once and lose once, and 𝘁𝗏 looked much better in the mid lane for them than 𝘁𝗏𝗏 did. So with 𝘁𝗏, are they really the 7th best team, the 2nd worst team, I should probably say? Not convinced. So let's see what they can do against one of the top teams, maybe the top team right now. I think Team Secret looked a little bit better than expected for especially the 2nd series. And 5 new champions, as you just said. That's something you don't expect to see in week 1. I always want to see teams stick to their guns, try to stick and establish a little bit of a style for themselves, get comfortable on stage, especially with new players like 𝘁𝗏, like Eddie, like F1. Instead, they just go 5 different players, but we might have the first action of the day.
He's on a ward.
Though.
They know. I don't think he can find a way in. Does hit the wind become lightning, but he's not going to jump over. But we have action up on the top side. Oh, 𝘀𝗏 back to Korea with you. Yuck. Gross play.
Yeah, I don't think he's played against Ornn in a while, because that flash was really, really bad. But that's
that was dreadful.
That's a good dive opportunity. Eddie's super low, so they should at least get 2 platings here. Oh, good try.
They just need to zone them out.
Yeah, I think you should have waited for 𝘁𝗏𝗏 to catch up, because with the slow on E, that's a really easy kill. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 actually not going for the traditional Nami, or for the current Nami OP build with Electrocute. Also really taking a liking to this tower shot thing that's hitting him over and over again.
He's trying to play Soraka.
Much more defensive here, with maybe looking at the Leona all-in potential. A little bit too scared to go for Electrocute. Also takes away a little bit of the burst, but so far they've been winning the lane anyway.
I think it makes a lot of sense, particularly come, the skirmishes, the 3v3s and stuff, where you have a LeBlanc jumping in as well. But let's have a look at this replay and how 𝘀𝗏, welcome to the VCS.
Yeah, he has to flash. To be fair to him, the flash, it's really hard to flash out of there. I think you should just accept the death, because the way the ultimate was angled, yeah. Double TP in bot lane, 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Oh, it is a party down in bot. 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏 in trouble, but now it's 5-1 with a big old crocodile bearing down on him. They retreat back to the tower, but DNK will have no such luck as he falls in the river, his watery grave, bringing the score back to level.
This is something we saw in the very first Enchanter game this split, with 𝘁𝗏𝗏 taking the Nami. He was focused by the enemy team in insanely hard. They just piled on top of him and tried to kill him over and over again. It backfired for them. It backfires here as well. 𝘀ami not quite as squishy, not quite as easy to kill as you might suspect. So that's a kill and the direction for Cerberus, and suddenly they're back ahead in the game, get the first dragon. But Team Secret hasn't lost too much, especially because both teleports are gone now from the side of Cerberus, which usually means the scaling composition gets a little bit of time to adjust, to just farm up some minions, because there's no big surprising play possible for the side of Cerberus without the teleports.
Yeah, and Team Secret are doing well here. 𝘀𝗀 on this Graves is asserting himself nicely. This is what we want to see out of the champion. Of course, I'm not going to make you talk about Graves for too long, particularly when we see it back in the jungle. It's not a pick we've been particularly impressed with, but it's a pick that makes a lot of sense for 𝘀𝗀, I think. Doesn't want to be first man in. I'm a broken record on this. He likes being second in, and Graves is okay with that.
Oh, he had some amazing games on Engaged Champions, though. His 𝘂cie, absolutely beautiful.
True.
The last time they played, he got all the MVP points together with 𝘀𝗀, so he had some great performances so far. He's also going for more ADC-focused styles. Already played the Kindred. I mean, you can barely call Graves an ADC. I like the swap, though, syncing up with the 𝘀𝗀's early Herald take to just get as many plates as possible, and immediately forcing the response from Cerberus.
I really, really like what 𝘀𝗀 did there as well. Just used his ult to clear the wave so they couldn't trade anything back. You know, you often get that 𝘀𝗶𝗵 bargain, but that was completely taken off the table.
This takes away from the laning. Yeah, this takes away so much from the laning power as well. Look at this. Even CS for Eddie, even CS for 𝘀𝗀. This is not supposed to happen. Cerberus is supposed to be ahead in these lanes, and it's not really coming together in the early game for them. Team Secret standing tall and just weathering the storm for now.
So far, but will it continue? That's going to be the real question. You said that every moment that Cerberus is even with this composition is a moment they should be worried. They really do need to be going ahead. Hello, production. Please don't look at your Black Friday sales.
I feel you.
It's okay. It happens. Something happened there. Not sure. Apologies, everyone. I don't know. YouTube, it's not having a bad day. Anyway, let's get back into it, because it might be some real sales on Team Secret lives soon enough, as we are heading into those level 6s. The first items about halfway completed at the moment, and I think Cerberus will be wanting to make a play soon enough.
Yeah, exactly. That first item is what you have to keep your eyes on. 𝘀𝗀ami especially is very delayed right now. She's still on the first step on her support item. So that's not great. 𝘀𝗀ami is one of the fastest if you actually get to trade, but she had to go to the other lane. She had to play defensively after the early dive, so this 𝘀𝗀ami a little bit behind the curve, but all the other players, I mean, Renekton is maybe a little bit behind as well, but especially this mid lane, she had to go for tier, because that's what you have to do now on Syndra, but she's also on 100 CS at 10 minutes, so 𝘂𝗀 looking like maybe the main carry in the mid game here for Cerberus, and he has been having an amazing week 1. We have criticized 𝘂𝗀 so many times. I'm sounding like a broken record here, because every time playoffs comes, he chokes his heart out. But it's regular season, it's week 1, and this is where 𝘂𝗀 shines.
This is as far from playoffs as we can get. And this is actually something I wanted to bring up when we were talking about, well, Team Secret with 𝘁𝗏 is probably the second worst team in the league, but Team Secret with 𝘁𝗀 do look better. Might have to come back for it, because we've got fights on both sides of the map, as Artemis will pick up that first kill in the bottom lane, and the Rift Herald up on the top side. 𝘁𝗏 playing with fire here, but he knows he's got backup. They're going to move on in. 𝘂𝗀 looking for a big scat of the week. He gets the ultimate, but the Ornn can't be redirected in time. It's a good Ornn knock-up. 𝘁𝗀 wants to go in, get onto the opposite number, and take out the Syndra. 𝘀𝗀 will get it with that collateral damage from downtown, and now it's Cerberus on the run. They want to skin the 𝘁𝗏. He gets a big heal back up, but it's not enough as Ornn will take him down. Answered back by Xin Zhao. 𝘁𝗀 plays with fire, but he does not get burned.
And what a terrible target selection there from Cerberus. Maybe we can see a little bit of the 𝘁𝗏 factor coming in negatively in this case because of the missing communication. We don't know. It's speculation at this point. But he is the first import, so he doesn't speak Vietnamese perfectly yet, or you would expect him not to. Very difficult language to learn. So I've been told. So that was not the greatest fight for Cerberus, and even though their bot lane completely stomped their opposite numbers, look at this. This is amazing. This is why I said 𝘀𝗷, Nami is impossible to play against. The damage. What are you doing against that? There's not much Eddie can do to survive. They get 2 platings, or maybe even 3 platings from this play. So all Cerberus has to do is just call it a day in top lane, say, okay, our bot lane is carrying us, we are so far ahead, let's not risk it. And they do just that. They risk it. 𝘀𝗷 gets singled out by 𝘁𝗔. He has a much easier time. Very nice ultimate there as well from 𝘁𝗀, sniping the last hit. And then it's just not the greatest target selection from the start to finish. But 𝘁𝗏 going for one target, Eager going for another. 𝘁𝗀 gets to free fire all the time. 𝘁𝗔 gets away with 1 HP. Bad fight for Cerberus. And suddenly they're almost 2k gold behind. A composition that's supposed to be at least 2k gold ahead.
Yeah, and they're losing a dragon as well, so that snowball option is delayed by at least 5 minutes, which for their composition, that time is worth its weight in gold. I'm sure time weighs a lot. That makes sense, don't question me. As 𝘁𝗔, not the best trade there onto 𝘀𝗷, kind of eats the worst of it. And this is kind of something that I want to watch play out through these 2 or possibly 3 games. Is the way the lane goes, because 𝘀𝗷 is probably the league's best actual laning mid laner, but once again, I'm not allowed to talk about this, as there's always fighting.
I mean, to be fair, this game has actually been pretty slow, and I'm happy because
for a
first
VCS
game in, I actually got to talk some in the early game. Surprisingly, 1-1 at 11 minutes. That's not something you will ever see again on the screen, but the game is kind of falling apart for Cerberus. They need to find a way back in. The 2-tier evolution, maybe, or transition, I should say, might be another point they're eyeing in terms of power spikes coming in, because those tier items are very cost efficient, especially the AD version. She's very far away still, though. Only 204 stacks and no component items to complete the man immune. So we would want to have 𝘀𝗷 with a little bit more gold. Maybe you can funnel another turret plating, or platings, of course.
Eddie, he doesn't know. He lacks critical information. Can they actually get onto him with a teleport being invested as well? They need to get onto this. This is too many resources to not get a kill, and they're gonna get it as Eddie is gone.
Perfect. There we go. The kill for Artemis. I'm not sure if the teleport was really necessary. Maybe to corral him into the situation there. Not perfectly executed from Artemis and 𝘀𝗏 in my opinion. You should start with EQ immediately from the 𝘀𝗷 when you're in range, because, yeah, I mean the Nami E, of course, because Nami E with the 𝘀𝗷 Q basically enables you to 100% hit the 𝘀𝗷 stun. A little bit harder against the mobile champion, of course, but makes it so hard to play against. It's another kill though, and we want to see the gold funneled into Artemis. He has been the best ADC in this week. That's just straight up true. There's almost no competition, showing us the Vayne, showing us so much variety, with also Jinx coming in hyper carry performances, lane dominant performances, 𝘀𝗷, Jinx, Vayne. So this ADC is really here to show once again that he is ready to get the title. He was our mid-split MVP last split, and we had such high hopes for
He
this
was
team.
pretty much uncontested in that one.
Yeah, he was.
It was no one else even came close. So this is like something we've always seen about Cerberus, but I think it plays out in an interesting dynamic this game, because Cerberus is kind of the anti-VCS team in that their 2 best players are their mid laner and their AD carry. The 2 weakest roles in Vietnam by a stretch. We've got very good junglers, we've got very good supports, and then the other 3 roles are much worse, but top's okay. We've got some very good top laners as well. So Cerberus moving towards, as you were saying, the more traditional VCS style, trying to just ape 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘁𝗶𝗆, I think is really risky, and we're seeing that it's not necessarily paying its dividends.
Yeah, this style is always going to be risky to make work 100% of the time. Luckily, it's a best of 3, right? So even if you lose your win lane, win game style game in game 1, you can always fall back to the teamfight style. And their early game stats have been great. So I actually don't hate seeing Cerberus experiment, especially against weaker teams, with a little bit of a different style. Try to also get comfortable, because only team fighting has never been enough to beat 𝘁𝗶𝗵 and 𝘀𝗀 in the playoffs. So trying to now cultivate another style, another way to play the game, and another way to win games can actually go a long way for their chances in playoffs, as long as the players also play at their levels in playoffs.
For sure, we have another play onto 𝘀𝘀. I think they might have taken this import thing a little bit personally, as they're just skinning the croc over and over.
So we're bad enough so you can play that you can play your input player? No, we're not. Here we go. Another kill on the Renekton. And of course, Renekton, once he's fallen behind, once he's been turned into a leatherback, once it goes downhill from there. He's not really a champion anymore, very easy to kill. They have so much tankiness and dive potential. 𝘁𝗀cie can just set up the kill for 𝘁𝗀 to take every single time. Artemis getting more solo gold though. Not quite able to get the tower. Might be
Artemis
crucial.
has the carry pants.
He definitely does. But he is playing early game focused builds here. Yeah, this dive is not super interesting, honestly. Just so much tankiness. 𝘁𝗀ie is tanking this tower now for 5 shots, for 6 shots. Doesn't matter. He's still only half HP. That's on. That's what you can do. Do I really have to cast on my first game an on and a 𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀? Seriously, VCS? Okay.
I mean, you're lucky that you didn't get a Jhin. you didn't quite roll all natural ones. But it is another dragon over to Team Secret as they now move up. Cerberus, yeah, this game plan of win lane, win game is certainly not working out at the moment. It is not over. They still have incredible players. Artemis is still able to pop off on this Xayah even as the game goes on. But he has very, very heavy weights in his boots.
I'm very fascinated by what kind of build he's going to go for now. Because usually you would go probably Serylda's Grudge. But with the Nami in his back pocket, no time for that though. Jerry trying to look for an engage.
It's alright. I don't think it's going anywhere as they do use the Syndra W to yoink that blue buff away. There's no contest possible. And it is just back to the bit of the VRAM.
Yeah, so Serylda's Grudge, when you have the Nami E, doesn't really make too much. I mean, the stats are still amazing.
They're on top of Artemis as well. He's trying to fire back. It's a big Nami wave. This has gone wrong here for Team Secret. The engage was not coordinated.
And a much bigger problem for the composition is the follow-up on the on-gauge. On-gauge is such a long-range ability, especially if you hit it from so far away. And then, who is going to follow up on that? Lucian, super short range. Graves, even shorter range.
LeBlanc is the idea, right?
Maybe, but it's basically single target, apart from like 2% of plays. So can LeBlanc really follow up on that? Jump into an army that's super dangerous for LeBlanc, honestly. Especially against the Xayah as well, who has so much safety and counter damage. This kind of engage can't really work for this composition for Secret. They need to be the ones kiting back a little bit, maybe, and trying to get in range first with their Grace and Lucian, because, oh, he gets caught, but he's far enough away.
I think it's interesting. I do agree with you that that's definitely how they want to play it, but I think this engage can work, and I'm sure we'll see it in this replay, because Leona hold hits as well.
Yeah, but
like, they can get on Artemis there if they're... But that's the issue, right? They weren't synced. It wasn't the engage that was an issue. It was their damage dealers being out of position.
I have to praise Ego, though, for his defensive ultimate there. He basically crescent guarded Eddie and 𝘁𝗀 away, and they just stood there trying to hit the Xin Zhao. They couldn't even hit him, because, he just forced them away, and then... Yeah, it was just 𝘁𝗀 isolated in the back line. He didn't die, but on the other side, the other tank, or almost tank in 𝘁1 had to die. So they need to find a way to get away from Ego. Probably trying to flank, maybe, with one of their ADCs. Most likely 𝘁𝗀. Because they both come from the same side. Ego can always just play bodyguard. Just stand there, press R, and no one can get past them. So the team fighting actually looking much more difficult than we expected, even though just looking at the champions, traditionally you would expect them to outscale, but maybe we actually have to adjust our judgment there, because, yeah, range advantages are a huge thing.
It is true. It is a very real thing, but I am very worried about Ornn just becoming an unkillable brick wall at some point. He's going to be incredibly tanky against a lethality Xayah and a burst focus stage like Syndra as Renekton. There's no CC. He's out. Oh, it was on a pause. Oh, pass! That's so silly. The Infernal Rift kills him. But on the other side of the map now, Ego's in trouble. It's good flashes there
Double
just to make sure the
flash.
Cerberus players are smart and out.
What? Oh, Cerberus looking so flustered. So many misplays we don't usually see from the
my
same.
word. It's because it's
And
pass.
plus 0-4 in his first game. Well, I'm just going to quote my own thing from the podcast. It's a 50-50 chance he's going to work out. It'll be a massive disappointment. It's just one game, so we're going to cut him some slack, wait for some more evidence, but not the greatest. Not the greatest showing here.
I mean, that's the only way he dies in that scenario, is he does it on the blast
Yep.
code. Any other scenario, Graves can't stop him. He gets out. But now he loses his teleport, he loses his life, and Graves gets even more fed. Going the more damage-heavy version of the build, not what we were seeing at Worlds, not what we saw yesterday out of our Graves, going into that Youmuu's and into the armor pen, which I like to see.
items.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually just completed the third item. This Graves is a hefty lad, and that's very, very scary now for Cerberus.
Yeah, so in terms of damage, Secret should win all the team fights. They have more tankiness, they have more consistent damage, especially because Xayah is not actually going for consistent damage here, but they still have to deal with Ego and the bodyguarding and the range disadvantage, so much disengage on the other side as well, so here we go, DNK trying to get closer. It would be the third Drake for Secret.
It certainly would be, but it's bursted out. Ego doing well there. Artemis using that Featherstorm to get away from the Ornn ultimate, but now they're going to dive in. Xin Zhao will immediately fall. It's a good Nami wave holding them back, but it doesn't hold them back longer. The tide is breaking back in the favor of Team Secret. As they charge forward, it's going to be Fee1 with a flash into the E, into the kills. Coming out from Eddie, but traded back does Artemis, but it's only RonOP. He's a fish out of water, as the rest of his team have been cleaned off the rift.
That should be all she wrote. There should be an easy Baron. Much more gold for this Graves. No one can stand up to him. He has so much damage. Look at the healing against Baron alone. He's level 15 already. 3 items. Is going to work on his IE next. So this should really just be the game. He doesn't even have the on item yet. Should be the next one coming in. Well, what a fight for Secret, and what a showing today, really. Putting 𝘀cie in the dirt. After he called them the second worst team, and they show up against Cerberus. But this is a much better situation because the enemy team is committed to the dragon, so they can't all focus on disengage. Pass is super squishy, he just dies instantly, and then there's no protection anymore. There's a wave flying in the air because honestly, that's all this composition can do at this point. Because they're certainly not winning the fight, so at least they have some nice visual effects. RonOP flashing out in the end, but yeah, they can't fight like this when the enemy team can just walk up at them and shoot them for free. They have to play with range advantage, maybe try to establish a little bit of terrain advantage as well, using Syndra, using Nami Bubble, and also Nami Ultimate. It might be too late for that now, because look at this health bar from Nagia.
𝘀𝗋𝗋, tell me that your jungler's having a good game without telling me your jungler's having a good game. He's got the second ornament.
Oh, yes.
He's got an ornament
Wards,
before the
I
AD carry. It's something like that.
Yeah,
I used to know
like
all of them, but then Ornn fell out of the meta, and I only have so much room in my brain, and I had to
we
replace
have
it
an
with
eye of
memes.
Luden, I believe. 𝘀cie can tell us all of them. I believe 𝘀cie knows all of them.
Oh, Artemis in trouble, has to use the Featherstorm, but the Ram will be redirected. Nagia picking up a kill. That's what a good top laner looks like, as moving in is DNK, digging holes to fill with Graves, and that is a lovely, lovely little play out of Secret.
And that should be game. Nagia, look, he just disrespects towers so much. Hey, Nagia, come on. The towers are supposed to stop you. You can't just walk up to the towers. That's not how it's supposed to go. This Baron minion is super annoying, though, because it can't tank for them and can't take away the Vector bonus. So they actually have to wait for the next wave. 15 seconds on Artemis. 8 seconds on RonOP.
Yeah, but they're going to go for it anyway, as Poss is getting chunked down. Has that Sterix pop to make him look tanky for a moment, but he's not. He's taken down. Once again, the shotgun rings true. Destiny has arrived, and it's named Graves as he picks up 2, and the Nexus will fall. Team Secret will take game 1.
It's an honor to finally be back. I was giddy all week to finally get to the mic again, and I'm welcome back by Team Secret, looking like a top team again. It's last year. all over again. Wow, that was a big surprise. 27-minute victory for Secret against Cerberus, and all the top teams are faltering. Can Cerberus come back? Will POS play the next game after this horrible performance in game 1? Let's see.
We will find out. We'll be going to a little bit of a break now, and then we'll be back with the VCS English Analyst Desk. Don't go anywhere. We're bringing you all the action from the VCS.
You know, it's been since April since we've really got like that fantastic of a sampling of the VCS, and I forgot that literally no team is safe from just making the worst mistakes of all time and looking like absolute chumps. Cerberus losing to Team Secret. I think 𝘀𝗀_𝗃 might be the only person that would have possibly predicted that. Welcome back to the VCS Analyst Desk, gentlemen. What did we just witness?
I mean, this just shows why 𝘀𝗀_𝗃 is the teacher, right? He can teach us why Secret is such a good team, and we just look like clowns next to him because we are absolutely clueless.
I find it to be a bittersweet moment, actually, Mr. 𝘀𝗀_𝗃, because on one hand, you did predict Team Secret, and everyone else predicted Cerberus because that's how we expected. On the other hand, Syndra lost, so like, I do get to banish you next time you say something that egregious.
But yeah, it's bittersweet for me as well because the Nami also was kind of fishy and did not end up winning. But yeah, in Teacher's Day, I have seen that Secret really revised concepts of lane swap. Like in the early game, they put their bot lane in the top side to avoid the tough matchup that was the Xayah and Nami. So well done Secret, taking notes from the past seasons. And also, like, 𝘀𝗀 completely schooled Ego.
He did. It was pretty impressive, actually. Only because usually we expected Ego after a lot of the other games that like he ran things for the most part. Inside of this series, I mean, only for 𝘀𝗀 to both have more effective ganks, to have better map pressure, and to farm like a monster. I mean, he hit, what was it, the 10 CS per minute mark in the jungle. This is the only region in the world where you're getting consistent jungle pressure that's allowing you to hit 10 CS per minute. Is kind of insane. Where did things kind of fall apart, 𝘀𝗀_𝗃? I don't really know. Like, was there a specific point in the game that you think really kind of established that this was the breaking point for the side of Cerberus?
There are many little breaking points, I would say. First of all, there was this one death by POS, then there was this other death by POS, and this next death by POS. And yeah, I want to address the elephant in the room. POS had a really awful debut. I mean, I'm sorry. He is a good player. We know that he is here for a reason, but this game just wasn't it. And can I add that notion that Syndra was not the problem here? I mean, this might offend you, but she was not the solution either, let's be real. 𝘀𝗀 was having a great game. The LeBlanc didn't really have any impact in the game, but neither did he. So he had a 40 CS, but was really invisible all this game, and it was basically just the bot lane playing well. I mean, Artemis and Unofficial got that 2v2 kill, but Ego also kind of an off game for him, I would say. He didn't manage to get the bot lane dive going on earlier on, and yeah, they didn't snowball their bot side well enough and just could slowly watch as the Renekton fell off against the Ornn, and Ego got kind of out-jungled by the Grave, let's be real.
You are now the second analyst on my desk to talk kindly of the Syndra. While I am fine with saying that 𝘀𝗀 had a good game, never say that Syndra had a good game. So that is one demerit for you,
Yeah,
Mr. 𝘀𝗀, as well. We do also have a pretty big breaking point within the actual game itself, which is around what was the third dragon. And I know 𝘀𝗀_𝗃 specifically wanted to pull this. He had the timestamp readily available. Why don't you talk us through this replay really quick and how this was kind of the big breaking point for Cerberus as well?
So Cerberus here has the better position around the dragon, and it's Secret that comes to break the play. And Jerry, look at here. He finds the flank, and then everyone is lined up for the ultimate, forcing Artemis to ult preemptively. At this point, POS tried to do damage repair, but he's really too squishy because he's very far behind, and the team fight is already over. And then Jerry just goes in for some cleanup, and 𝘀𝗀 closes the fight. But yeah, Cerberus' biggest mistake here was being all lined up for the Ornn ultimate. They probably haven't practiced against this pick, and they were kind of in disarray and not ready for this team fight.
So now, walking into what is game number 2, to the best of our abilities, especially as draft is probably about to kick off any second now. What is the fix for the side of Cerberus? I'm actually going to give this. I'll throw this over to Clockwork because I know you've been focusing on Team Secret, and I'm going to give you a Herculean task of not saying that you need to sub out 𝘀𝗀. Let's say that 𝘀𝗀 needs to stay in for game number 2. What else needs to change here?
That's a good point. My teachers in physics always told me not
subbed
to
out.
extrapolate. Don't extrapolate. So don't make assumptions too early. Okay, let's keep the 𝘀𝗀. It was just no. It's false. They put 𝘀 again because they do extrapolate. Okay, thank you. My physics teacher
What else
needs to
be
go to
fixed
Vietnam.
about this then?
So here, well, the dynamics doesn't change a lot, but there's one thing that I really wanted to see from Cerberus, which is the Scion pick. It's a pocket pick for the pun. It's been buffed recently, so this could be an option, a pocket pick, a very interesting niche choice that Cerberus can pull out of the hat, and let's see if they go for that.
And 𝘀cie, I'll poke around in your brain for a second about what happened with Team Secret. How can they replicate what they did in the previous game now that there isn't an Indian crocodile from Korea in the top side?
I mean, maybe they can bait punt to block into the next and then just camp hit this pick as well. That's like one option for them. I mean, they just played a very fine game. I mean, for them, it's just like, don't change what worked. I mean, it was pretty well done by them in the first game. Maybe just pick superior scaling and rely on the fact that Cerberus was not able to snowball cleanly or snowball at all. I mean, they had a better early mid-game combat. They didn't get the lead anywhere, basically, except for the mid lane, and that was on 𝘁𝗀, which is a champion that is utterly useless, according to our host. And to some extent, I would say that's agreeable, because, well, the pick didn't have the impact they hoped it would have.
We'll get a chance to see whether or not there's more impact to come out of 𝘀𝗀, whether or not there's going to be lightning to strike twice here for Team Secret. A little bit shocking. Part of me also wants to see now this entire composition from Team Secret get rebuilt around these hatred picks for 𝘀𝗋, just to have him suffer on his first day on the desk. It would upset me greatly if the Nidalee got locked in here, because that means we wouldn't get the trifecta, like the Infinity Gauntlet of the Ornn, Jhin, and Graves, and unfortunately we aren't going to get that today, as it is the lock-in for the Nidalee, as DNK had himself a fantastic game number 1. On the other side, they've gone back to the Xayah, maybe potentially going into the lethality yet again. Is this a strategy you see working now that pun is in the roster, the both of you, or is this, or do you see them going back to what is something else and playing, I guess now more aggressively out of the bottom lane, showing this new style, attempting to flex a little bit away from the pure team fighting?
I mean, gotta say, considering they lost the game, they still had the better bot lane, right? I mean, Artemis was playing really more than fine there, 1 OP as well, had a great tidal wave with Nami in the mid game, where it was like the only winning fights Cerberus had all game, basically, where they were like fighting on the dying mid tier 1 turret. But now he also gets Leona. It's even more comfort for 1 OP, and a pick he even has more agency on. Xayah, Leona, very brutal bot lane, and they fight against the Jhin themselves, which is also very easy to target with a solar flare on the side of the Leona, with the blade caller from the Xayah as well, and maybe that's the way in for them, if they just destroy bot lane even harder than they did in game 1, and there's also Renekton on the other side, so maybe that helps as well.
I want to add something on the Jhin pick, because the VCS teams have a very eagerly blind pick the Jhin in most of the matches, but among all teams, Cerberus and Artemis have refused to pick the Jhin. They probably want him on some more impactful AD hyper carry for the late games, and here Team Secret took advantage of that and put Eddie on a kind of safe pick that can contribute to team fights even from long range. And I like to see the Xayah again. Now there's a bunch of support bans directed to the bot lane, because that's what Cerberus wants to play complete this game.
Ooh. Interesting.
What Shen?
Yeah, we don't get much Shen around these parts, or around any parts for the most part. This might actually be one of the first Shens in the entire world during the course of what is effectively the summer split, as it were. I'd have to check that stat when I get off the desk. I'll make sure to go look and see if that's the case. But pulling out some of the stops here are the side of Team Secret really wanting to take this win against one of our teams that is topped at the tied at the top of the standings. My apologies. Coming out here is the carries have been established. 𝘀𝗀 is now going to get his hands on the LeBlanc LeBlanc, as well as it is the Mundo to come out here trying to sandbag that lane against the likes of the Renekton. And we'll see. I'm guessing, I'm anticipating Lissandra is just like the pick because that's why everybody likes to play into LeBlanc. And I wouldn't be shocked if 𝘁𝗔 takes that too, just because 𝘁𝗔 seems to be somebody that I can predict most of the time. And what would you have it? That's exactly what they're going to go for. And now they've got a dive buddy alongside the Shen to be able to put into the back line and let the rest of this team, both of you, thoughts and opinions on these drafts as they've come about. Does Cerberus have a better composition from what we saw last time? What do you make of these two teams?
I just want to add on this that maybe you don't even need us because you can just predict the Lissandra pick anyway. But I want to add something. I think Cerberus should have picked the Lissandra themselves because then you don't really just get counterpicked that easily in the mid lane, and you have so much bot lane focus anyway. So the Lissandra would add a little bit more on top of that because she could easily go with TP worm, go just with a regular worm, and just dive this bot lane of Eddie and Fire over and over again. You could also target the source of the global comp with that because the Shen is indeed the support pick on their side. So I would have preferred if they went Lissandra themselves and wouldn't have the LeBlanc into Lissandra. But I gotta say, 𝘀𝗀 has shown to be the better mid laner in game 1. He can also maybe just actually dominate this counter pick matchup here with LeBlanc against Lissandra. But I'm not really 100% convinced by that draft either. And I'm also shocked that they still have the old Mundo split because it is a reworked Mundo playing. And that's one of the picks that can neutralize the early aggression from Renekton very well.
Gentlemen,
On my side, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that Team Secret probably does not have enough damage to win later in the team fights, but they have a bit better lanes, better than the earlier draft. So I'm still seeing Cerberus win if they can put it to late game and maybe revert to the side that they were playing in spring.
All right, no time for predictions. We're just going to kick it all over to the combination of 𝘁𝗏 and 𝘀𝗈 for game number 2.
That we are, as we head on to Summoner's Rift. 𝘀𝗈, I'm sure you have a lot to say about these compositions, as they're very different once again. More and more new champions come into play.
Yeah, you could maybe summarize Team Secret's composition with the Twitch chat quote, "Where damage?" I don't really understand what they've put together here, but I guess we go for lane dominance this time. Also find it really funny that they see the Xayah early rotation and they decide to just pile dive on top of dive against Xayah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it works if you just have enough dive to redive her after her ultimate and her flash and her cleanse. Let's see. It sounds like a very counterintuitive strategy to play Lissandra, Shen, you could even say Nidalee and Renekton into Xayah, the best defensive ultimate of any ADC in the game. But yeah, let's see.
I think there is some sort of big brain situation where you have so much dive. She's only got one ultimate. You know, one person dives, gets the Feather Storm, and then you've got 3 more to pile in.
You need very good coordination, though. You cannot, in this composition, ever, if you want to try and kill Artemis first, you cannot use your abilities all at the same time, because then they all get negated. So you have to bait the Xayah ult, or maybe the Xayah flash, and then re-engage, maybe with a flank from 𝘁𝗀. It's very hard to play this kind of composition. It can work. Xayah is very immobile after her ultimate, and even with her ultimate, she stays in the same spot. So yes, if you execute it perfectly, I can see it working, but it is going to require a lot of synergy, a lot of coordination, and I'm not sure if Team Secret is at the stage yet. Shen support,
it'll be a good test for them. To see if they can really pull it off, because as I agree, it's a super high coordination composition. Shen support though.
Oh, 𝘁𝗀 under a little bit of pressure. He gets stunned.
He's completely dead. He is so dead. That's a LeBlanc with first blood.
And so easy, not even a flash needed, so that means that's so easy to repeat. He can't even TP back to lane, or to his minions I should say. He has to TP to the tower, which means he loses a little bit of pressure even though he TP'd. Very bad recall start there from 𝘀𝗀. Doesn't matter though, because he gets the kill, he still has his flash, so now he can either look to maybe kill something in top lane or bot lane, or they put pressure on mid lane again. That was very risky from both sides.
Yeah, Nagia has a jungler though, as DNK has arrived. No real opportunity to land the spear and stun though, unless they want to go under tower. With that miss, they certainly don't.
Yeah, that's not how this combination is supposed to work, by the way. The Renekton should flash stun, and then Nidalee gets the free spear. Nidalee going first doesn't really make sense in this combination. Renekton just cheering her on, as we see this very easy replay. Nice chain there from Yado, and Lissandra just didn't recognize the threat she was under. Honestly, it's very hard to get away there anyway, because the LeBlanc can always just preemptively flash after you, or ahead of you, and then you can't flash out anyway. But at least try to blow the flash, because now without the flash blown, might just be the same situation again. And if LeBlanc gets off to a 2-kill lead, that's going to be a really rough mid-game, especially for the team.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Not a huge amount of counterplay to a LeBlanc that's just ahead of you, as Eddie is still getting shoved in. This power of this Xayah on full display. Eddie, of course, does have pots and biscuits, though, so he's not in too much trouble. Let's
we do have a little bit of time to theorize about this Shen support right now, and I'm really struggling to see its value, because Shen support's one of the biggest things Shen support brings to the table in bot lane 2v2s is this W, of course. This could be a dive. Pan is pretty low. Nagia has his rage.
It's so risky, though, up against a... Okay, never mind. It's not risky at all. He murders the Mundo.
Yeah, Mundo didn't have his passive up, and was level 4 with 200 HP, so that's a very easy dive. Very bad from Pan. And top lane today seems to be a little bit doomed from Cerberus. No matter who plays. But yeah, Pan actually has been very good in lane against the likes of 𝘀cie even. And we know Pan is a very good laner. He had his struggles mostly in mid-game and didn't look like a great top laner in splits prior. He did look pretty good so far this week, so let's hope he can recover. The Mundo pick was a little bit out of left field, and the Mundo pick is basically just to deny the Nidalee Renekton combination, right? Because you have the one free immunity, and they only bring 1 CC, so you can never really fall prey to the Nidalee Renekton combo. But if you just die to the Renekton, then the Nidalee doesn't even have to show up, so that's not supposed to happen here.
We barely need a replay of this. It was pretty basic.
Yeah, no.
I don't think Nagia needed to flash there, but better safe
really
than sorry.
not.
Better safe than sorry.
There we go.
There's the second kill for the LeBlanc your way. You said 2-0 LeBlanc is looking a little doomed, and there it is.
Well, and it's all coming together for Cerberus' solo lane, for Cerberus' lanes, I should say. Top lane just died, my bad. But Yado gets a kill early on with the help of Ego, doesn't blow his flash, goes for another aggressive trade once he hits level 6. Jerry is only level 5. We saw the flash follow for the chain, which I was talking about in the very early play, so this is very standard, but very good long play, and Yado, so far, the star of the show in Game 2.
Yeah, for sure. Ego showing his face down here on the bottom side, forcing Eddie and 𝘀one to give up so much pressure in the lane. Let's have a look at this solo bolo, as we only saw the end of it. I think we can tell what's about to happen. Who even needs level 6? Okay,
he goes for a trade level 5, and then I think Jerry disrespects the level 6. There's the flash. Very nicely done.
Oh, and we come back in VCS fashion to more and more action, as that is a kill. Ego tagged up by the spear, but DNK, do you really want to take that one? He is completely denied, tagged up by the Q as teleport comes in. Jerry, you are in so much trouble. Back to the frozen north with you as he goes and has a bit of a rest in the tomb, has the claw, and manages to just about escape. Ego now wants to keep this one going, but DNK denies.
And both teams were bored of the last early game. 2 kills in 11 minutes, so that's not allowed on the screen. I told you so. Now we had 5, could have been even more. And I like the proactivity from Team Secret to try and salvage the situation to some extent. At least try to get a kill back, because honestly, with the draft, with how the game has been going so far, with a 3k gold lead, or 2k gold lead I should say, there's a very low probability you're going to win this game, so just send it. I actually really like this approach. You're a new team, you need stage experience. It's an online game, but still, you need professional game experience on your players. Exactly. So I really like this approach. It didn't work out here, and let's see how the dive actually came to be. Very good cleanse. Then 𝘀one doesn't have his aftershock, so you can't really tank. And there's Ego, level 6. The easiest dive of all time for the Lee Sin.
Yeah, it gets a little bit dicey there at the end due to that Spirit's Refuge. But in this continued play, I
Very
mean,
good flash as well.
Secret were
Mechanically,
never
that
really
was
in with a chance.
amazing from 𝘁𝗀. He played this dive and the aftermath perfectly mechanically. He flashed away from the flash follow from 𝘁𝗀, so he predicted that. He's a very good Nidalee player, so he knows where the damage potential and the play potential comes from. He anticipates the flash, flashes away. This causes 𝘁𝗀 to be in a precarious spot. 𝘁𝗀 has to commit to help 𝘁𝗀. Yeah, it's a very good display of recovery from Cerberus after a very bad early game 1. They need to get it over with. Sometimes they struggle, but usually Cerberus is actually one of the more consistent teams when it comes to closing out games. Very good team fighting team, very good mid-game team. So I'd expect them to finish this game by, let's say, 28 minutes. One of those classic calls. You love them.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you're normally very good with them, so I always like being able to predict when I can go for my next bathroom break. As Team Secret will move over, pick themselves up a little bit of alt CDR with that Cloud Drake. It's going to be Infernal or Water. We're either going very dry or very wet on this rift as they move up towards this mid lane where they do have so much pressure. As 𝘁𝗀, he moves forward with the ultimate, and that is an easy peasy kill.
Nicely done. This reminds me a lot of very classic LeBlanc with teleport into Lissandra. The MSI 2019 faker against Caps LeBlanc in game 5, I believe, where he just died over and over again, because against Lissandra you need cleanse, otherwise you just die level 6, and this is how 𝘁𝗀 can come back into the game. It's a little bit of a shutdown too, going over to him. He is still struggling in CS, he's still struggling even when it comes to experience for the most part, but a very good recovery. And 𝘁𝗀 and 𝘁𝗀 showing their very good synergy so far. I think I've generally been very impressed with this mid-jungle combination. It's a new player, and 𝘁𝗀, who we don't really expect to adapt to new players very quickly, but the opposite is true.
We have more fights going on though, your way, as 𝘁𝗀 has landed a Q. They're going to jump in on top of 𝘁𝗀. That's a good Spirit's Refuge. 𝘁𝗀 can't quite convert that Nidalee damage, and Team Secret are forced back.
𝘁𝗀 playing on the edge there. That was the last second switch back to the other position, distort back. He could have been caught by 𝘁𝗀's W, and that would have been insta-death for this LeBlanc. So he needs to be a little bit more cautious in some of the plays, as we have a quick flash into the past. But
all right, we saw someone standing in a bush. Ooh,
just to show off this nice animation. I have to praise VTV for this animation.
It is a nice animation.
Like it.
It is a nice animation. I like ours as well, though. Spoods has done well, as Eddie could be in a bit of trouble, but someone who's definitely in some trouble is Pun. Has that ultimate, picks up his passive blob. They're not really doing enough damage to him at the moment, as 𝘁𝗀 has now joined the fray. Trying to fight them back with that dominance. It's just a little bit too scary. 𝘁𝗀, he really wants to make this happen, but Pun had a minion in front of him. He couldn't make it happen. There's a teleport up to answer that LeBlanc, and they're going under tower with the Shen coming in. The 𝘁𝗀 have joined the fight, and 𝘁𝗀 will fall.
What an unfortunate passage of play there for Cerberus. 𝘁𝗀 with the longest flank of all time. He was setting this up for such a huge counterplay, but then just TP and Shen ult, and suddenly the LeBlanc is barred off. She can't go in there. She has to walk back in shame to a mid lane. At least they get something in the bot lane, but once again, a good proactive play for Team Secret. Maybe overcommitting to the play a little bit, but doubling down on it, using their Shen dive, using their TP from 𝘁𝗀. And it cost them 3 platings in mid and bot lane, but they got 2 kills back, and suddenly they're only 2k gold behind, which is still not the greatest, but at least it's stabilized from, a few minutes ago where it was already 2k, so Team Secret keeping the game close enough to at least have a chance.
Yeah, they really are, and I have to admire some of their team play here as this game's going on, as they have been behind. The fact that 𝘁𝗀 hasn't completely taken over this game, despite the fact that he is absolutely having a blinder on this Lee Sin, is very impressive for Team Secret. Rift Herald summoned up. More gold to 𝘁𝗀. LeBlanc looking absolutely resplendent today.
Yeah, that's gold to the 2 carries of Cerberus' mid game, so that's the perfect contribution there to their next place. And 𝘁𝗀 is already setting up the next dive.
𝘁𝗀's here.
Low.
He's
Should be
got
an
no
easy kill.
hope, surely. Yep, Pun just beginning to kite back. There is a Dominus to buy a lot of time, but it's not going to be enough.
Ooh.
One more kick will come in, and Ego W's out. But look who's here. It's the kitty cat, and she's here for a scratch. And now Pun on the run has that W to heal him up, but it might not be enough as DNK with another spear. But 𝘀𝗀𝗃 has joined the VCS.
Oh, come on, don't do him like that. That was a very nice sidestep. Don't blame DNK for that. Pun actually stepped away so nicely with this big MIG model on the Mundo. Still able to do it. Artemis, very overexcited. He wants
Artemis
that gold. He wants the gold.
He's so dead, as he will not be able to get the tower, but 𝘀𝗏 does not commit, so they just force him back.
Look at the time. He still has time to get the last plating. That's so much gold funneled into this Xayah. She's already so far ahead of 𝘀𝐻ie. So they really fumbled that one. They should have tried to coordinate that engage a little bit better, because now all the gold into Artemis. They even have to Gale Force away on 𝘀𝐻ie. I'm surprised he already has the Gale Force at 40 minutes after being picked on so many times this game.
Are you
Doing well
seeing
for
a little bit of
himself.
lag, or is this just me?
Oh, I think it's just you. I'm fine.
Okay, good. Let me just restart the stream. I can't see right now, but I'll fix it up very quickly. I was lagging a bit.
So we might see a little bit of a calming period, because now that bot lane has fallen, I think the lanes are probably going to be shifted a little bit around, so no imminent fights. As I say that, Ego actually tries to go for 𝘀𝗁𝗏, gets stolen away. He has to limp away.
Does
Now
appear that
run a P and Ego.
apologies about that.
Can you see again?
Continue going. Yep, I am back in. I am all good. Just had to restart our stream very quickly there. I do apologize. As continuing to farm up, Artemis is once again in a position to be very, very strong, has been farming up well on this Xayah, as you said. But how does Cerberus play out this mid game? How do they keep themselves in this 2-and-a-bit-K gold lead?
We are in a very strong position for them. Look at that burst damage from Artemis. This is what he can do to 𝘀𝐻ie all the time. Pun is tanky enough to withstand a dive attempt. Ego has enough damage to maybe force a flash or two. So they are in a super strong position right now. Now is the time for them to transition that lead into a game-winning position. And they're already trying to do that, getting all the objectives they can, trying to invade constantly. But they're losing all the smite fights. What is happening? Trying to give it over to Yado, but DNK just snatches it away. Yeah, but I think they just, it's very standard for them right now. Just play the lanes. Don't go into the dark areas of the map with anyone but Mundo, because then you can be ambushed by the enemy team, 𝘁𝐺𝐸, and especially 𝘁𝗏, looking for opportunities. But as long as you just play the lanes, play in vision, you should always win every single trade.
You certainly should, but this is the VCS where anything can happen your way. We do have a Jhin on screen, and we've seen this champion be incredibly successful. I'm actually not just saying that to bait you. It has genuinely been a very, very powerful pick, even as the game's going on. Teams are very, very good at playing inside that Jhin pizza slice as the mid to late game team fights begin to roll. It is a Rift Herald secured here by Ego. It is only that second Rift Herald, no big deal. They're going down to the bot lane as 𝘁𝐸's tried to make a play happen, but Yado is cracking ankles. He's gotten back under the tower. DNK thunks a spear into the minion. It's not where you want to put it. He continues to break ankles, but 𝘁𝗏 will lock him down, and 𝘁𝐸 picks up the kill.
Oh, but they wasted so much
It's
time,
a disaster.
so many resources.
He bought
it's really
so
bad.
much
It might
time.
even be inhibitor tower here, because they still have the wave. They're so far away. Should be a charge on inhibitor, maybe even the inhibitor tower completely falling down. That was a huge overcommitment. I said before that I liked how they play this game, just committing to plays, never backing off, but that was chasing a losing play, because, well, when Yado outplays you on the first dive, you probably shouldn't call in another target, and double flash.
The thing is, I want to jump in because I don't know if I agree. I think they have to get the kill. Otherwise they get nothing. I think the problem was just the initial, why are you diving there? In my opinion.
Yeah, I would have to look at the mid lane situation to confirm that, because if 𝘁𝗏 has his flash and can just stand on the tower and threaten the flash E, maybe that's enough to, defend the towers there. But it was a lot committed, and Cerberus has a huge opportunity to just punish the flashless targets, 𝘁𝐸 and 𝘁𝗏 on the other side. DNK's flash is going to come up soon. He's not a priority target either. really. No one really is, because no one has damage on the side of Team Secret, but this should be an easy opportunity for the next team fight, so I'd like to see Team Secret back off from the dragon that's coming up in 2 minutes, because a lot of their resources are not available to them. Look at the item disadvantage as well, especially on the ADC position. Almost 3 items for Xayah, only 1.5 items for Eddie. So play it a little bit cooler, calm down a little bit, wait for your resources to come back up, and then go for some picks here and there to get back into the game.
Yeah, I completely agree, and particularly when you have Artemis on the Xayah, someone that you know you can put so much faith in. This man has carried you plenty of time, Cerberus. Let him do it one more, as we have a bit of a fight brewing up on this top side. Cerberus able to back off completely for free, though, but the tower will remain.
Yeah, the third outer turret is a little bit of a struggle. They are already pushing in the bot lane too, though, and that's a lot of gold, potentially. There it goes. So that's 4 turrets down. 5 turrets down even. I forgot about the tier 3 in mid lane. So whenever they get any kind of objective or team fight lead now, they can easily transition to a team fight, to an inhibitor in the mid lane. Here you go. He's slippery enough. You can deal with this.
Yeah, he is getting borne down on by a big crocodile, but Nagia turns it around. Well played there from Cerberus, continuing to fend off the aggression from Team Secret. Ego wants to move forward though, steal away another buff, make DNK really work for every single one. He gets the smite again, but it just doesn't matter as the Leona ult will land in onto Renekton, and he gets absolutely ripped apart, but Ego in the backline does as well. Apologies for choking there. And no, Jerry has gone down, could not get onto Artemis. It's a disaster. The Xayah was free firing. Team Secret, they're now corralled. They're under their inner tower, but Pun can tank it for a while. Backing off now, has to flash, and forward goes Artemis. The feathers are strong. That's a double kill for the Xayah. Jhin will get one on the other side, but Cerberus come out ahead.
What a fight for Cerberus, so aggressive, but I also have to say, Jerry, that was not it. No ultimate available, and he still went in just for a W, didn't even have his Zhonya's if I saw that correctly, so absolutely no way of impacting the fight. He just threw away his life, gave the enemy team another kill. He could have tried to wave clear maybe in top lane instead of just diving in there with no ultimate available. Too aggressive, a little bit of a rookie mistake there, and Cerberus finally clinch a huge lead in this game. But yeah, don't take your eyes off Lissandra coming in here with a TP. She even TPs and she has no ultimate available. Look at Jerry.
Oh,
wow.
There's nothing.
He just threw away his life. He was less impactful than any support could have been there. I mean, the rest of this dive is craziness. It's just VCS aggression, Pun showing that he can play the tank as well. Last game, Nagia with the big tank. But this time, the Mundo is able, and Artemis' damage, he got buffed so many times. Xayah's AD ratios on the ultimate got buffed every single game, but another fight. Pun running in.
Yep. Your way, you should know that every time we come out of a replay, we have a fight as Jerry holds back Pun just for a moment. But this Mundo is here and the Doctor is in. LeBlanc will pick one up as well. Eddie managing to get away for now, landing a good W as he opens up the curtains. Ron OP playing Secret Service. He'll die for it. What an absolute hero. There he goes. On the other side, Ego has to run away from the last two. This was a split fight here from Cerberus, and they lose 1 or 2 more than they really should have.
They actually lost the dragon, I just realized. When did they lose the dragon? So big blunder from Cerberus on the map. They reset too late after the top lane dive and lost the second dragon to Secret. So just a tinge, a tiny little bit of hope for Team Secret, because they delayed the dragon power spike, and if they somehow get kills in this game and maybe Cerberus throws away a Baron, we know they like to do that, there might be a silver lining. I don't really believe it's possible because the team composition is so horrible. But Ego, oh my god, Ego is smurfing the whole game.
Yeah, he needs to be careful though as he goes very low, and now Artemis and Yado joining from the backside, but Artemis, you are alone, my friend! That's a Lissandra ult and the shutdown to Nagia. 1,000 gold in his pocket, the wings are clipped.
No, Ego.
Oh, Ego, don't get Lee syndrome there. Thankfully, he will hold himself back. But Team Secret are finding their way back into a game that they should never, ever be allowed to enter.
I think the situation is not over for them if Cerberus chooses to chase, but without Artemis, they're lacking the burst damage, the consistent DPS as well, to really go for the fight. Artemis dying is a huge deal. There was a big shutdown, 1,000 gold, I believe, over to Nagia, who gets a whole item out of that. So he's much tankier now. They focused Nagia in the last team fight, which was already not the greatest choice. So this Renekton now able to tank a few more seconds, and against a non-crit AD carry composition, that can actually go a long way for them to be able to stay in fights, to get the Jhin to a point where he can be the one impacting the fights. I hate to say it, but crit Jhin at some point can actually potentially out-team fight the Xayah in this build.
Potentially, but Artemis just way too deep here. What are you? This
sure
is a horrible play. Yeah, he panicked as well.
Good
This
flash
is
of
just not what you
Q1.
want to see.
Look at the damage from Artemis, by the way. He gets a Q and an E on the tankiest target and chunks him for 800, 900 damage. So this Xayah is still insanely scary. She made a huge mistake, but she has all her defensive tools with Flash, Cleanse, and Ultimate up. And Ego is looking for something again.
Totally okay. Yado landing a bit of a chunk, but nothing that'll really worry Team Secret as they do continue to hold on. They're 6k gold behind 𝘀cie, but it feels much, much closer. As so far they have just been able to catch every throw Cerberus has lobbed at them. But in the
I think
jungle,
it's also due to
they
the fact
need
that
to be
Cerberus
scared.
is refusing to play side lanes. Pun, why are you not
Yeah.
in bot lane? There is a wave coming. This could have been a bot lane outer turret. He's going to top lane now, which takes so much longer to push in because the second turret is already down. You probably can't take the inhibitor turret with the tank. Instead, they're just A-rimming, and I guess Jhin just dies.
Yep, Jhin just dies, as does Lissandra. There it is. Cerberus found the mistake. They found the hole in the armor. Now Team Secret, only 3 of them left alive. Cerberus will choose to just mosey over to Baron. DNK gets a little bit onto Pun, but he can just play Gatekeeper. They can't possibly get over. This will be the Baron secured by Cerberus.
It's a game of dodgeball now. They need to get away from Pun's sleevers. They somehow need to get into the Baron pit, but his accuracy is amazing. Oh, never mind. I just cursed him. But he bought enough time.
Yeah, he's being borne down on, but they're actually, like, in a little bit of trouble up against this Mundo. He's not dying 𝘀cie. He's beginning to walk away, hits another slow. He is a speedy boy while that ultimate's active. Off he goes, the spear misses. Mundo goes where he pleases, and apparently the prescription is I was about to say something I can't say, so I'm going to cut myself off there.
But he's full HP. They even TP'd another member. They tried to 4v1 him and he just walked away. That is why Mundo is such a good pick into Renekton Italy. They only bring one form of CC, and that's not enough to chase down the Mundo. This was such a deliberate counter pick, and I think we didn't pay it enough attention and appreciation in the draft and also early discussing the game, because it's so smart. Mundo isn't really in the meta. He's not tanky enough to really be a great champion right now, but he gives you the one huge opportunity to tank one CC, and he just stays on top of the CC targets on the other side, and they can't do anything. They can't get past him. Of course, it helps that the enemy team has no damage whatsoever, so the Mundo can just play the game for free. But still, Nagia and DNK, any other target, an Ornn, a Sion, any other tank, they would have chased down. But the Mundo just gets away for free.
For sure, but now they're calling in this teleport. Cerberus have had enough. They're upset at losing that first map that none of us really predicted they would. Maybe a few people predicted a 2-1, but it was certainly not in the way we expected, as an inhibitor will fall, a second will join it, and the siege of the Nexus begins.
And it's a dominant game. I think Cerberus is back where we expected them to be. A few mistakes here and there, but yeah, look at this. There's just no damage to the enemy team.
Ego, 3-man kick. It's what you love to see out of this Lee Sin. Pun walking forward, reminding them that they cannot kill the Mundo. One more tower left to take, but they'd rather get the kills in the fountain. Look at that Xayah damage. It's a double for Artemis. And that will be Cerberus bouncing back after a Game 1 defeat to put Team Secret back where they belong.
𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀. It's time for 𝘂𝗋𝗋, I think, in this split. As we see the inception of maybe one of the most frightening burst champions in the game. It's an ADC, but she's not played as an ADC. She's a burst mage now, and she one-shots you from everywhere.
That she does. And after that explosive back and forth, we are going the distance to a game 3. I'm so happy we're going the distance. We finally get to cast together again, and we get as much as possible. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the VCS English Analyst Desk to break down the craziness that was.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the VCS Analyst Desk. I think I finally figured out how it is that we can predict who it is that's going to win a game and who's going to win a series. Whatever is going to lose me the most sleep appears to be our action. And today that means we're going to get 2 full best of 3s as we see 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀. They sub back in 𝘀, able to make things work. They take this game as expected, or at least as we had expected at the beginning of the series. Gentlemen, what did they do right this game that they were doing wrong in the previous game that caused them to take a win here?
If I might start, I would say that they acted way more decisively. English that exit stopped working. On the early game, they managed to go ahead and get advantage from their lanes and capitalize on it and build every early play on that advantage and never let a moment for Team Secret to put their head up above the water. So yeah, that's what 𝘀𝗀𝗏 have been doing so far. Their early game have been very nice. On average, like their 1800 gold ahead. So I was surprised when the game 1 went that way, but this is what I want to see. This is what I expect from them.
So the rude part of me would just say they started 𝘀 and not 𝘀 because 𝘀 was absolutely chain inting in game 1. But a nicer way to put it is like that 𝘀, I mean, in his fantasy also that 1v1 once in this series because in the Mundo pre-6 laning phase against Vivecton was pretty rough for him. But he at least did even in CS and he didn't keep dying and he was on a better scaling pick. So he was able to neutralize his opponent, which 𝘀 was not able to do. And what I also like this kind of was for 𝘀𝑺, who doesn't have a good day so far, managed to snowball mid lane. Mid lane was already doing fine, and mid lane kept snowballing himself and other lanes. And this is why this time 𝘀𝗏𝗏 had a way better way to get into the series. And just now they reward themselves with this win.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to see 𝘀𝗏𝗏 return to her roots at least a little bit, not only with 𝘀 coming back in and 𝘂𝑺 getting substituted out, but also to see them play through one of their primary win conditions in Yato. 𝘀𝑺 really fought into the mid lane, made sure that was broken out, and then started winning across the map. It ended up with 𝘀𝗏𝗏 being in a really good position, barring a few very minor mistakes coming out throughout the game for 𝘀𝗏𝗏. Had himself a pretty solid performance on that 𝘬𝗏 that he's going back to 2 games in a row. So then I suppose the question then comes back to, Team Secret. Game 1 they came out, they were able to body in a number of different ways. They were able to win in a couple of different, avenues that perhaps were completely closed off to them. What is it that they need to do to bring this back into a state? Because now, I mean, 𝘀𝗏𝗏 has wrestled back control. Seems like, 𝘀 was a big part of what actually got them a win, and it seemed like they were all comfortable with one another, and like the game plan was better to execute. How does Team Secret combat that aspect of this game coming into game number 3 to try to take this series away? 𝘀𝗀𝗏, we'll start with you.
I think they don't need to do much about the top lane. I think that 𝘀𝗏𝗏 is absolutely fine against both top laners there. He wouldn't really need much gank assistance anyway because he just either solo kills them or just stays even in farm there. And it's not really that much about the top lane. It is actually more about the bot lane, I would say, because in both games, even in the first game, despite the win, their bot lane really struggled against Artemis and 1OP. And maybe they need to challenge Artemis a little bit more because he got 𝘬𝗏 both games, and in both games, it looked more than solid for him. And maybe just take the 𝘬𝗏 out or maybe pick it away from him and just pick something that fares better in the laning phase so you can stabilize into the mid to late game where you have more than decent chances because 𝘀𝗏𝗏 is not playing cleanly at all despite having a huge lead in the last game.
So
Professor?
I know that in the past we used to have this running joke of bad drafts and rebel coins for each bad draft. And in this case, Secret earned a whole chest of the blues because I was not convinced on their draft. Personally, I dislike the Lissandra as a counterpick to the LeBlanc because yes, it works in lane and it does survive usually because Jerry did not. but then in the next parts of the game, she offers very little other than some lockdown. And indeed, Team Secret lacked damage in every team fight that they could attempt. There was Dr. Pando just running wherever he pleased, and they at some point there were 3 on him and they couldn't even scratch him. So yeah, I want to see some more rounded up team fight composition, because it's easy. Like, just play for the team fights and you always have an avenue to win.
Do you think, I guess, if we're taking that avenue of it, and we've had now Cerberus kind of step away from what is their traditional team fighting roots, which is what they used throughout the majority of the previous split that we had seen back in the spring. Do you think it's a worthwhile endeavor trying to take that team fight up against them as the draft kicks off, if that's the case, just because this team is so comfortable in that team fighting phase, even if they're going for more of an early advantage? Would you rather see them, I guess, on the side of Team Secret, that is, come out with a team fighting composition and try to outscale this kind of new strategy from the side of CES, or are we looking more towards attacking that earlier game and try to find comfort in that area?
Personally, I would give it a shot to the late game team fight. It's still early on in the split, so you are allowed to experiment and try different styles. Cerberus also is one of the top teams, so it's not really a team that Secret need to beat. And I think, this seems to be going the opposite direction with the Camille blind pick. So quite interesting start. Let's see. Of course, the 𝘀cie ban, very wise. They admitted that they don't want to deal with a champion anymore in the bot lane. Kindred, wow. I'll let you on it because that's a lot.
That's
Kindred
a callback on what they played last time, right? I mean, they had DNK on Kindred and Jerry on 𝘀cie, and the Camille is kind of the new phase of it, but Nagia has played before. I like the Camille also because Nagia seems to have been the best of the 3 top laners that played this series, and the Jax into it is in theory a good answer, but I'm not really convinced on either of the Cerberus top laners really facing Nagia up there. So I like the Camille a lot from Team Secret, and I also like Camille 𝘀cie as a combination because just so much lockdown on the enemy team. It's guaranteed team fight power they have. In general, of course, I'm not really a fan of 𝘀cie, but Team Secret has been the better team fighting team, I would say, over the series. Especially if you consider both teams being even on gold in these situations. So I like them going for the team fight, going back to comfort for DNK as well, who has been fine this series as well. And I'm not really convinced by what Cerberus offered so far, because fun in a carry versus carry matchup against Nagia could be very detrimental to them.
And if I recall, in previous splits, or at least splits past, it was Team Secret who were the ones who innovated what was like the Nocturne 𝘀cie, the Camille 𝘀cie. It was like the comfort pick for them to be able to have this kind of dive setup and immediate team fight setup for what is this set of champions here. So now, not only do you get, like you said, that powerful champion for Nagia in the top lane, who seems to be outperforming against other top laners, but also you get like a bit of carry potential from the side of DNK, who went really far off in terms of game 1, had an okay game number 2 on the Nidalee as well. And then also now I think you take down what is one of the more inconsistent portions of your team thus far, which is Jerry out of the mid lane, because any time that a VCS mid laner has a rough performance, they're immediately locked in 𝘀cie jail until further notice, and that's kind of what's happening to Jerry, unfortunately, after that Lissandra game had come out. A lot of bot laners taken off the board here. Sylas as well being removed from the rest of the page, as well as, Misfortune now taken, and it's the 𝘀cie, another one of these dive potential ADCs getting brought into the mix alongside this Camille 𝘀cie. Gentlemen, as this kind of draft or the draft ends up rounding out here, what are you making of the final bits of these compositions as we're seeing the last little champions that kind of come through?
Look, here, Secret pigeonhole themselves in another composition where 𝘀cie is the only magic damage threat. They did it again because they had the option to go for the Ziggs maybe in an earlier part of the draft, but then Cerberus banned it, and now they find themselves without an additional damage composition. So now they rely a lot on executing these skirmishes in mid game and bank off these combo and these ultimates before their counterparts build enough armor to stop them from doing damage. So it's again, they did this mistake in the previous drafts, and it seems to be happening again.
I mean,
Right.
there's some silver linings on what Secret has. I mean, the Kai'Sa has a certain part of magic damage inside her kit as well, with the plasma stacking at least going on. And Camille has a lot of 2 damage, and the comp is not that tanky from Cerberus, but I gotta say, with the Kai'Sa, the kind of self-counter pick themselves in the bottom lane, it will be really hard for Eddie and V1 to really have a stand there. And also 𝘀𝗀 got counter-picked by the Wise, not the ideal matchup, even the Wise is not really that strong in the meta. And with this, I think the lanes are kind of not favored for Team Secret, and I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this last rotation of the draft.
One word, both you gentlemen. Which team takes the series?
Cerberus.
At the same time, what a well-planned out little set here, as Cerberus predicted by both our analysts to win. We are going to kick it into the casters to finish up our last game of the series between Team Secret and Cerberus. 𝘀𝗋cie, take it away.
Happy to do it, Rebel, as we do head into this game 3. And I wouldn't have anyone alongside me for it rather than you, 𝘀𝗋cie. It is once again the 𝘀𝗀 solo AP. I almost long for the days of triple AP topsides, as at least it's a different problem as we hit Summoner's Rift. I have my favorite champion in the game, so I've got plenty to be happy about. What do you think of these drafts?
Okay, hear me out. Kai'Sa has a bit of magic damage. Let's say 10-15%, so it's not entirely solo AP 𝘀𝗀, maybe?
I mean,
all abilities from 𝘂𝐿istair deal magic damage or something.
I mean, look, the one silver lining is Cerberus don't really want to build tank stats, and they particularly don't want to build MR. Jax can with Wit's End, but everyone else is just building health, so it doesn't really matter quite as much. It just makes Merc trades really good. Sorry, plated steel caps, really good.
I want to start with something we saw last game as well. The Mundo into the composition as a counter pick into the composition. Jax is the same. Jax, speaking of Jax trying to go for something here.
He's just going to build up that Conqueror, but he loses the trade really hard. He didn't play that super well. Should have walked away while Nagia was stunned instead of taking the punishment in the back there with those adapted defenses coming in clutch for the Camille. But Pun, he's not backing down.
Yeah, and this Jax is so good because Jax against Camille can always just wait out the ultimate with his E, so it makes it much harder for them to set up easy kills with Jerry walking into top lane. Also, Jax, of course, against double ADC compositions. He's having a field day there. Yeah, so this Jax might really become a huge problem later on. Usually Coated is our Jax players. Sometimes we see some Kiaya Jax, but Pun Jax is a new one, so let's see how he does today, this pick.
It's funny, because do you remember back when Pun was being advertised to us as the Zeros killer?
Ooh.
He was a Jax one trick in solo queue. Back when he first joined the league as Vietnam's next absolute cracked player, he was a Jax one trick. So he's finally on the pick. It's been a year.
Yeah, that's a very good call. I didn't actually remember that, but now that you say it, yeah, he was known for his solo queue and especially for his Jax. Let's see if he can be as good as Coach, but Yado. Oh no.
Yado's in trouble. That is going to be a kill for the Kindred. My wife getting off to a lovely start here as DNK pilots it well.
And once again, the mid lane dies super early on without even using flash. Yado. This time he has minions at his tower. Oh. No, it's alright. Okay.
It's fine. They're not going to go under tower. Nothing too wild here in this early game. Jerry can get a good reset. Can walk or TP, depends how he wants to play it. DNK off to a lovely start.
Did he catch
he'll get his mark
if he was
crab.
marked?
He'll get his... he is not, if I'm reading the visuals correctly there. I don't think he is. Normally, marking the mid laner that early is very strange. He will get his crab, though. The bottom crab is the one that he has a hunt on.
Yep, that's very good to see. So DNK off to an amazing start. He already played the Kindred game, and he looked quite good on it. So this Kindred is going to have a difficult time in the late game, I'd say, mostly against the likes of Jax and Xin Zhao. But on the other hand, it's also Kindred into MF as wombo combos, where you have the biggest, well, you know what I want to say, but it's very, very hard to play MF and get kills against Kindred in the late game, because she just sits there, gets hit by all the stuns, gets hit by half of the MF ult, and then she just presses R, and MF ult turns into a nice little shower instead of dealing or raining down all the damage. So that's a good counter. I think the Kindred is going to have issues really carrying the game as a damage carry, but she can be a nice defensive supportive champion in this composition.
Yeah, certainly can. And with this play down towards the bottom side, relieving some pressure, allowing 𝘀cie and 𝘀𝗀 to farm up nice and safely. Xin they know exactly where he is. They'll have seen that 𝘀cie bloom, but we might have a clash in the bot lane regardless. I think Team Secret are opting into this one as they have a teleport. Artemis has been immediately lit up. Ego and Kindred on the side having a bit of a scrap. Kindred does not win that one. 𝘀𝗀 on the run, and it's going to be 𝘀cie claiming the kill. And now Artemis has a lot of problems ahead of him. There's a teleport behind, and the MF will live. This is a disaster now as Pun joins the fight. But it's an excellent knockup, completely denying him to come in. Pun, he's going to go down. It's a teleport party your way. It is an absolute scrap in the bot lane, and only 2 die.
I love this way of using teleports. Don't teleport everyone in immediately. Try to bait the enemy team in overcommitting, and then you still have another teleport, and you have another teleport, and another teleport. Amazing play from Team Secret, and I really have to praise their coordination. We know their individual plays aren't the greatest. They are working with a new roster rookies. They have to get acclimated to the stage. We don't expect them to win lanes, but what they've shown today is that the team play and probably the coaching, when you want to extend that, is really well done. And their TP coordination, their way of just using their CC on the correct targets, just very impressive for a new team. Nice to see 𝘀𝗀 have a little bit of a 𝘀𝗀 moment there, good engage on Artemis, forcing him out immediately. And then 𝘁𝗀, well, they can't get the kill at the start, and I thought they would turn on Ego instead of focusing the bot lane. This opens up the TP because Ego is still alive, and he's still very threatening on this HP bar. Pun coming in, but once again, 𝘀𝗀 with an amazing Q there. And then it's just all she wrote for Ego and for Pun. No, Ego actually gets away, yeah.
Ego gets away. They didn't want to go under tower, as we did have a little bit more of a scrap there during the replay. No one went down, but Pun definitely got bullied a little bit. I don't know who has the Rift Herald, as we aren't looking. It's not spawned when I talk about it. It's only 6 minutes. I just saw an empty Herald pit and a fight in Topside River, and I assumed they were actually fighting over something. But I'm a fool.
Yeah. They're fighting to fight, okay? The objectives are means to start fight, not the fights, not the other way around. We're in the VCS.
𝘀𝗀 in trouble, has to flash away, and with DNK coming in, should be safe, puts out the circle, and this is now a collapse. 𝘀𝗀 in a lot of trouble. He should be able to queue forward, but he's rune prisoned up, as he pointed out.
No.
𝘀𝗀 can't do anything. 𝘀𝗀, what are you doing, you absolute madman, you sicko? Eddie's gonna fall as well. DNK smites for a little bit of health, but it doesn't matter because this Rise is an absolute machine gun. 𝘀𝗀 is using that forehead, and he's using it well. Bang, EQ, 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 EQ.
Fortunately, the most important signing of the offseason for Cerberus finally works out. Pause, okay, not so great, but Cerberus Infernal Drake coming in clutch, carrying the fight for them there, killing almost everyone from behind. Wow, what a turnaround. And suddenly Cerberus is ahead. There's still a kill behind, but they're ahead 500 gold in all the play, especially the Rise looking strong. 𝘀𝗀, one of their main carries so far, he's on Rise. This is gonna be scary.
It is terrifying that this Rise is suddenly off to a 3-1 start. In brighter news for Team Secret, of course, their 𝘁𝗀 did pick up a kill. 𝘀𝗀 now 3-1 himself. Let's have a look at the replay here. Oh my god, 𝘀𝗀, you bastard!
Look at the Infernal Drake too. Look at the Infernal Drake and all the damage it deals to Team Secret.
𝘀𝗀, that is unacceptable!
Secret numbers! Over and over again!
I'm sorry, 𝘀𝗀, that is unacceptable!
I mean, to be fair,
You murdered your support!
Why did 𝘁𝗀 just walk that way too? Couldn't he just walk back to base or something? Like, I understand 𝘀𝗀 there. You're the ADC, you want the kill. You hit an amazing
we have
W.
a dive. No, Pun's fine.
A little bit of cooldown period here. They get some plates, nice lane swap, and actually I think Cerberus is ahead in tempo, though they're using Oh, that's a bad Herald spawn, very far away from the tower, so this opens up... No, the possibility is not there to really get the tower before them, but they are going to trade tower for tower, which could have been played better if they sent someone to defend a little bit early and used their time more efficiently. Now there's a switch in play for Cerberus. Instead of going for the tower defense to get a 1-for-0 tower trade, they're going to go for the 2-for-1 tower trade instead. So just more gold on the whole map. Enemy team gets a little bit of gold on the 2 carries, but you get even more gold split between all of the members. So that's a 2-for-1 tower trade. First tower secured for Cerberus. They're up 1k gold.
They certainly are. They're looking very, very good here. Well, I don't know if anyone's looking good, but they're looking in a good position to win the game. Team Secret will answer back with a dragon, so they will have that scaling condition. I'd love to just have a look at how many stacks Kindred has. I haven't been able to track that one so far, so hopefully they click on her eventually.
Yeah, she's scaling up nicely, and as I said, I think she's going to have a hard time carrying this game in the late game. But remember, 7 stacks is 600 range. Of course, you don't have to remember. I'm saying this for viewers. I know you're the expert, but no time for that. 𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗃 caught.
He's in trouble. He has.
That's a really bad
Wolf's Frenzy. Wolf's Frenzy was built up. That's a huge chunk. DNK out of DNK with Jerry cleaning up the kill. This is a messy one your way.
He stunned himself! Don't stopwatch after you flashed! You're in the right next to the tower, just keep walking! What? He just killed himself with a stopwatch. He threw away extra resources. Wow, Jerry is on fire on this galley. He's looking for plays constantly, just going in on every opportunity he can see. And honestly, so far, almost every single one of those has worked in their favor. So very impressed with Jerry's Galio so far.
So far, yeah, I think it's a champion that suits him very well, a really enabling pick, allowing himself to set up the rest of Team Secret. Makes sense for a rookie as well. So, 𝘀𝗋𝗋, we've now passed 11 minutes. We are truly in the mid-game of the VCS. It is pretty close in gold, you know, only 1,000 at 10 minutes. Who are you favoring, and how do you want to see these teams play it out?
Oh, wow. That's a very difficult question. I think both teams have some avenues to victory in the late game. I think Kindred, of course, hyper-scaling champion, can always go to a point where she just one-shots and dominates everyone, but I'd probably lean towards Cerberus. I think it's a little bit easier to execute. You have 𝘁𝗏 with very easy setup. We have a wombo combo setup for MF and Leona, and then Jax in the side lane can also team fight well against double ADC compositions. The Alistair's a little bit annoying for the Jax, to be fair. We already saw a little bit of that, a glimpse of that in the bot lane fight. But he's going to get stronger and be able to dive back in. So I'd say in a traditional 5-on-5 team fight, it's probably Cerberus, but Secret certainly has some opportunities with counter-engage from Kindred starting, especially if Cerberus overcommit to the plays. Kindred ult comes in, they heal up, all the resources are burned. Suddenly Kindred 600, 625 range comes in, and Ryze can't do anything against her anymore. So it's harder to play for Secret, which with a new team I'd say definitely favors Cerberus, especially because we already know them as a team fighting team. But it's not over in terms of just looking at the champions and saying, yeah, the scaling is inconceivable to ever get even. So this could be a super interesting late game when it comes to team fights.
It's super good, but it's interesting because 5v5 team fights are definitely one way for this game to play out, but I'm seeing a pretty lovely 1-3-1 comp for Cerberus as well, particularly with that 3 kills being picked up by 𝘀𝗏. So more and more signs point to Cerberus, but Team Secret is by no means out of this one as Nagair throws himself in, puts up the ultimatum, will call a Galio in as well. They desperately want this jungle, but it's a lovely zoning ultimate there from 𝘁𝗏, and now the turnaround is here. Cerberus bite back by 1, knocking away the enemy AD carry. Lamb's respite is out. It is going to be 1 kill picked up already. The heal comes in. DNK needs to kite it. Flashes away as the rest of Team Secret are being cut down. Look at the damage from the double up.
Oh,
but with a teleport joining the fight, it's Jerry. He's going to arrive in the middle of the enemy team. He lands a big taunt, but that's going to be just about it. They can get nothing. It's a triple kill for MF.
Oh, Jerry's TPs in these last 2 games into team fights. Oh, he really has to sit back and review some of his decisions here in these team fights. He's a little bit tankier. Oh, 𝘀𝗀𝗃 still on the chase. Can he get another kill? Han is the worst target possible for him, so he quickly jumps back over the wall. Get away from this Jax. But what a team fight. And one thing I didn't consider in my analysis of the 2 compositions and how they team fight against each other is in the VCS, there is no kiting back. What even is that weird concept I'm trying to think about? No. We are going in. Both teams engage on different targets. There's only engage. No one is ever trying to back off. And that's kind of situation I definitely favor Cerberus. And we saw one of the examples of why. Their composition is just much more compact and have more HP to work with. They have so much burst CC. I don't really understand this engage from Nagia here. They are trying to chain and kill Ego, possibly the worst target in the game, because no ADC can attack him with his ultimate on. And then there's the counter engage. Finally, the Kindred ulti comes down, but the best way to play against Kindred ult is just to get in there as your team.
We have another fight. I'd love to get out of this replay, as we do have another fight. Ego moving in. It was Team Secret securing the dragon. 𝘀𝗀𝗃 got the smite on that one. But they pile in onto Fe1. They want another bite of this delicious steak, and 𝘀𝗀 will take the dinner.
Yeah, once again, Team Secret trying to look for an opportunity there. You said the Drake went over to Cerberus? I did. I'm not sure.
Yes, 𝘀𝗀𝗃 took it. 𝘀𝗀𝗃 took it. Well,
yeah,
they're the only ones with. Okay. They're the only ones with Drakes, so that helps.
I mean, Team Secret has 2 Drakes on my screen. I'm
sorry, no,
that,
𝘀𝗀𝗃,
so...
𝘀𝗀𝗃 took it.
Okay, so we actually have the
for some
correct
reason I thought
dragon.
you said yes, it's correct.
Oh, that's alright. Okay. Yeah, I was a little confused because I saw the Mountain Drake spawning, and I wasn't sure if it was dying or spawning. But yeah, it's the Mountain Rift, and 𝘀𝗀 looking for another collapse on Jerry. There's no way out for this poor Galio.
He nearly gets out. He does about as well as he could, but he will once again be taken down. Cerberus look like they're absolutely in control. Game 1, apparently just a small misstep, and they're right back on their rhythm.
Yeah, looking much better. And you talked about the 2 carries of this team in the very first game. They weren't really carrying then, but now they finally come online. Look at Artemis' score. Look at 𝘀𝗀's score. 415, 514, exactly the same kind of stat. 9 KDA, all 100% kill contribution for both of the carries. And look at their items. 2 items completed for both of these champions as well. So that's going to be very hard to find a way around, especially 𝘀𝗀, level 11 rise, so he has the 70% extra damage on Q. He has all the mana to work with to spam forever. And how are you ever going to kill Artemis against this Bloodthirster? So it's problem-solving time for Team Secret, and I don't know what they're going to do.
I mean, it might take some really advanced calculus and that to find a way out of this problem, as there is another ultimate being used. Lamb's Respite, it's good response. He uses the Wolf's Frenzy really early there. Ego could have possibly died if he'd saved that one, but Nagia will be the one to go to the grave as Cerberus find another pick.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, using the Kindred ult to counter the MF ultimate, but when MF builds crit, she can also just auto-attack you. And all the other champs in their composition are super strong as well, so it's not enough to counter the engage. MF ult isn't the only tool in their arsenal, and look at that bounce damage on Eddie. You almost died to a random rogue Q from 𝘀𝗀. No, not another one. No, Nagia,
oh,
why?
It's once again, they're gonna keep it going. Nagia flies in, but the Kindred is already dead. The Galio goes in, and oh no! One by one, they come, and they all die as Cerberus are charging forward. 5-1 will manage to get over the wall, but Cerberus are just dominating.
So I do appreciate all the aggressive plays. I do appreciate the assertiveness, the aggressiveness from this new team. But there comes a point when it is just too much. Trying to TP for the umpteenth time into the backline alone is just not the play. And yeah, you get the shutdown on Artemis. You get it onto one of the premier members for the scaling.
Honestly, it's kind of messed up that Cerberus just doesn't respect the 1v1s. Like, come on, like, have some respect. You're just killing him 3v1. That doesn't show any skill.
Oh, man.
Oh, my, oh, my. This is, look, I have to give some props to Team Secret. Look, we didn't have super high hopes for this team coming into the series. I would have thought this was a 2-0. Game 1 gave me a little bit of misplaced hope, but I'm honestly, the fact that they're coordinating themselves, or at least attempting to, is good to see from a team we are putting pretty far down the ladder.
And even though the last game now, the game 3, is definitely the roughest game for them, even though they lost pretty heftily in the last game as well, we still have one game. Okay, it was against POS, but still they won a game against Cerberus, and they look good in some of the other sequences here. Yeah, he has to flash away immediately, and 𝘂1 is in, but for how long?
Oh. Yeah, he does have that 𝘚𝘀cie ultimate, so he does stay alive for now.
There's the TP ready for Jerry
as well. Oh, yep, Jerry's got the TP. He needs to go give Cerberus their dinner as they continue to clear. They're just waiting for Baron to spawn. They just straight up didn't have anything to do until Baron.
So the good thing for Team Secret right now is there are no flank wards. So they can't TP behind the enemy team, which is probably the best that could ever happen to them, because so far the TPs into the back line have been very, very unfortunate. It's time for 𝘀𝑚 though, the standoff.
Yep.
Can we fight again?
Yeah, they are moving in. There is the 𝘀𝗀 finding his way in. They're dealing a lot of damage onto Leona. They will actually blow him up immediately, but now they've got to deal with the rest of Cerberus, as 𝘁𝗀 has already fallen. 𝘂1 being hunted down by Ego, throws himself back in to make sure that 𝘂𝗀 gets the kill. They instantly open up the realm, move over to Baron. They don't really care if Team Secret takes a dragon, because they're going to take the much bigger buff.
They are giving them soul points, so if something weird occurs 5 minutes from now, there is a Mountain Soul, and Mountain Soul is not enough to really turn this game, but it could be something. It could be a start. If we get to see the replay of this fight right now, keep your eyes on Ego if you want to amuse yourself, because Ego really tried so hard to play decent in this game, but unfortunately he's Xin Zhao, so he just doesn't find the insect. He's trying so hard, look at him. He's chasing down Eddie. He's trying to get into the backline, and then there's just an 𝘚𝑙istair. And he really does not want to use the ult on 𝘚𝑙istair, so he doesn't. It's very funny to see Ego try so hard to get his insect. But in the end, the rest of his team carried. Very good engage from 𝘀𝗀, even though he died immediately. Still opened up this fight for them. And engage is all that counts, because they have so much damage now. If they ever lock down anyone for 2 seconds, they just die.
Yeah, it's a very rough situation here from Team Secret. I don't think they really have too many ways back into this one. The scaling is well and truly on Cerberus' side with the Jackson Arise. They can't play the side lane. They can't play 5v5s. All they can do is pray for a classic Cerberus throw. And at 22 minutes, I mean, it's possible. They've also potentially got a Mountain Soul, but I don't think even those resistances helps them very much. So I think we are just watching the dying whimpers of a wounded animal.
Yeah, it's their only hope. The Mountain Soul is their only hope, and once again, I don't think Mountain Soul is enough to turn this game, but it could be a start. Mountain Soul into Elder Dragon is probably their avenue to victory. They are trying to engage because that's all they want to do in this game, and here we go again.
Look at this. They use 𝘁𝗀 and Jerry's engage. They get about a third of Ego's health bar, and I think I'm being generous. Lamb's Respite being used is not going to save Jerry, though. They're moving forward. The Hextech ultimatum has been thrown down and accepted, as Eddie now just diving there. They're just trying to pad their stats so they don't look quite as bad. He manages to get a kill, but will go down on the other side of it, and Cerberus take their rightful place as winners of this series. Team Secret fought hard in game 1, taking that upset, but they could not continue it. Artemis just having a bit of fun, as they are going to clean it up. They are going to take the game. They are going to take the series, and Cerberus continue to look absolutely dominant in the VCS.
Both teams can walk away from today with some positive notes. Cerberus with their main lineup, with Pun in the lineup, looked amazing today. 2 stomps for them. Pun himself, well, maybe a middling performance, but the rest of the map, Artemis and 𝘂𝗀, once again, the two, maybe the best carry combination in the league right now. I think that's pretty easy to say. And in their 2 games, they won under 30 minutes. This game was 23, the one before 27. But then on the other side, Team Secret expected to lose this one. They got a game of Cerberus. They looked well coordinated in some of the plays. Maybe try to not TP as much, but that was one fun series to come back to the VCS. Thank you very much, and let's go to the analyst desk immediately.
Welcome back to the VCS analyst desk. Nice to have everybody here. As again, Cerberus is able to close out the series in pretty convincing fashion once they decide that their substitute top laner is taken off the board pretty much altogether. So congrats to them being able to clean things up. I know one specific professor that's probably been crying off screen at least a little bit. Clockwork, I mean, they were so close. They were within striking distance of Cerberus. What happened over the course of that series?
So, well, of course, as you said, Pan coming in brought the team together. But on the side of Secret, I would say, in the long run, the difference in experience really showed. The roster with the more rookies didn't manage to hold up against. We have seen in this game especially that most team fights, Secret looked scattered and without a real plan of how to approach the team fights were actually Cerberus shown. So yeah, this is just a matter of time. I'm not too concerned about Team Secret's prospect. They even managed to take one game against an opponent that it is by all means way better than them. So I'm not too worried about this.
𝘀cie, any thoughts on the series and anything about Cerberus, I guess, or Team Secret, either one of them, and how they played today?
First on Team Secret, I think I need to backpedal a little bit on them. I was a little bit harsh on them before the game one. They were not as bad as I thought they were. They managed to take one game from the current top team because Cerberus is the only team who played 3 series and has 3 wins. So gotta give them credit as well. And gotta say Eddie in last game specifically. I expected the 𝘁𝗏𝗄 to do absolutely nothing against the misfortune Leona lane, and Eddie did surprisingly well. And speaking of Cerberus, I mean, they got a little bit help by both V1 and by the Infernal Rig in that one maybe game deciding skirmish early on where Yado got very fed on the Wise. But yeah, other than that, they snowballed the game cleanly, which is something they haven't done before. So they are also like ramping up towards the split, I would say, despite their already decent record.
Yeah, I think Team Secret showed us at least a bit of tenacity today with their ability to compete with at least one of the top teams, and hopefully that converts to a little bit more competition around, not just with Team Flash, but even like Burst the Sky and into some of the middle tier teams. We'll get a chance to see them later on in the season as we close out the first series of the day here between the side of Team Secret and Cerberus. Stick around; we'll be gone for probably about half an hour, 40 minutes, somewhere in that area, as we are preparing. VETV is preparing, of course, to get into the second day or the second set of games here of the day between 𝘁𝗀𝗶𝗹𝘀 and SBTC. That's coming up right after this break, as we had just foretold. And after that break, of course, I do believe 𝘀cie will be stopping out. So make sure to give him a nice applause on the way out as he assisted us on our analyst desk. And we will be right back with the next series between 𝘁𝗀𝗶𝗹𝘀 and SBTC. See you then.
See ya.